this meeting at 6 o'clock. It's June 23rd, 2021. This is a hybrid meeting, which means it's Zoom as well as in person. My colleagues, the Board of Selectmen, is present, so we don't have to make an announcement as to who they are. But this will be uploaded to YouTube. It'll be live. Hopefully, it's live on cable right now, and it'll be played again on Channel 9. So please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Please remain standing.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing.
We'd like to take this time for a moment of silence to express our condolences to the family of Lois McCormick and Lois Powell, who passed away since our last meeting. Mrs. Powell was a North Dighton resident. Ms. McCormick was a Dighton resident and the daughter of Dr. Charles Sousa, who practiced in Dighton for many decades. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. We have a couple of scheduled appointments. The first one is Patricia Gales, who is the chairperson of the Historic Commission, and she's going to speak to us about the Boston Post cane for Virginia Sylvia.
Good evening. In May of 2021, Mrs. Virginia Sylvia was selected as the next recipient of the Boston Post cane, and this honor recognizes her as the eldest citizen in Dighton. As we know, the Boston Post cane tradition started in 1909 by Edwin Grazier, the owner of the newspaper The Boston Post, and over the years, Dighton has now had 22 recipients. The Historical Commission is planning an award presentation for Mrs. Sylvia, and she is planning on being there, with members of her family present on Monday, June 28th at 6:30 at Old Town Hall. And we're kindly inviting the Board of Selectmen to attend to present their proclamation to Mrs. Sylvia on June 28th, and the public is invited too. It's a really special day. Thank you. Yeah.
I'm going to read the proclamation, and we can vote to accept it. Boston Post cane Certificate of Recognition. Whereas the history of the Boston Post cane dates to 1909, when Edwin Grazier, publisher of the Boston Post newspaper, distributed 700 canes crowned with 14-karat gold to New England towns with the understanding that these canes will be presented to the oldest male and handed down through the years. Women were included in this distinction in 1930. And whereas Virginia Sylvia was born Virginia Sousa on October 14, 1922, in East Providence, the oldest daughter of 10 children, and whereas Virginia Sylvia married John Sylvia and moved to their home on 545 Somerset Avenue in the 1960s, and whereas Virginia Sylvia has 2 children, Edward Sylvia and Sharon Walker, as well as 3 grandchildren and 6 great-grandchildren, and whereas Virginia Sylvia was a homemaker who then worked for several years at Raytheon Company, and whereas Virginia Sylvia has the distinction of being a second-generation Boston Post cane recipient, as her father, John Sousa, received this honor while living in neighboring Rehoboth. And now, we, the Board of Selectmen of the town of Dighton, in celebration of her life's legacy, recognize Virginia Sylvia as the newest recipient of the Boston Post cane. In witness whereof, we have hereunto set our hands and caused the great seal of the town of Dighton to be affixed this 23rd day of June 2021. It is signed by the Chairman, Kenneth Pacheco, the Clerk, Lennon Hull, and Member Brett Zografos. I'll entertain a motion to approve this.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the Boston Post cane Certificate of Recognition as presented this evening.
Second?
Is there any discussion? If not, I'll ask for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, objections? The ayes have it. I want to give this to you so you can bring it Monday and then
Safekeeping?
safekeeping. I'm liable to lose it. Thank you. I see there's a couple of other members of the Historic Commission here. Thank you. The next proclamation, it's with some sadness that our chairman, former chairman of the Finance Committee, Edward Swartz, has resigned from that position. He's been with the FinCom for 20 years, and he's been a chairman for 17 years, and we're very proud of the work that... Am I wrong, Mr. Swartz?
No, I'm not sure who else was chairman. I think I took that on at the beginning, but that doesn't matter.
Oh, the
17, 20 years.
yeah, the proclamation already, proclamation says 17 years, so we're gonna have to go with that. But he, as many of you know, he moved out of town, and he continued to be the chairman of the Finance Committee, which was a great challenge. And we're in the fiscal state that we're in because of Mr. Swartz. So if Dr. Z could read the proclamation, I would appreciate it.
Sure. This is a proclamation and certificate of recognition. Whereas Mr. Edward Swartz has served on the Dighton Finance Committee for nearly 20 years and as the Finance Committee Chairman for 17 of those years. And whereas the collaborative, credible leadership and fiscal discipline that Mr. Edward Swartz brought to the Finance Committee allowed the town of Dighton to consistently meet its needs during those years. The town's strong fiscal position has also improved into one that is widely recognized by residents and local and state officials. And whereas the highlights of his tenure include the establishment of and significant investments in both the town's stabilization and capital stabilization funds, the funding of many critical capital improvements, including a new headquarters for the Dighton Police Department, and the early adoption of the town's other post-employment benefits, or OPEB fund. And whereas these highlights also involve Mr. Swartz's advocacy for the restructuring and professionalization of Dighton's town government, including the establishment of the position of town administrator for the town, and whereas Mr. Edward Swartz's leadership has also been instrumental in his service on various other committees and commissions in the town, including Dighton-Rehoboth School District Finance Committee, the DR Regional Agreement Task Force, and the Dighton Water District. And whereas Mr. Edward Swartz's fiscal management as chairman of the Dighton Finance Committee has also been instrumental in helping guide the town through the COVID-19 worldwide pandemic. Due in large part to Mr. Swartz's diligence, the town has been able to successfully mitigate the economic impacts of COVID-19 from fiscal year 2020 to fiscal year 2021 and beyond. And now, we, the Board of Selectmen of the town of Dighton, do hereby recognize Mr. Edward Swartz for his hard work and dedication to our community and residents. On behalf of our grateful community, we extend our sincere gratitude to Mr. Edward Swartz for his tireless efforts to move Dighton forward. In witness whereof, we have hereunto set our hands and caused the great seal of the town of Dighton to be affixed on this 23rd day of June, 2021. The Board of Selectmen of the town of Dighton, Chairman Kenneth J. Pacheco, Clerk Leonard E. Hull, Jr., and Brett R. Zografos, member. And I will make a motion that the Board of Selectmen approve the proclamation and certificate of recognition as presented this evening.
And I'll second.
Second. Any discussion?
No, I just wanted to, I learned a lot from Mr. Swartz. Proposition 2.5, just, I just can remember him just being a real great resource for me. He's been a great resource for the town, and I mean that sincerely. And I will still be calling you, Mr. Swartz, so please answer when I call with my questions. But in all seriousness, thank you very much. It's been an honor to work with you, and I continue to learn from you when you answer those calls.
Selectman Hull?
Mr. Schwartz, I've known you since we were kids. I saw what you did in Taunton, and you brought those talents to Dighton. This town is a better place because of you. When I came on this board, I was faced with the brutal reality that we needed to cut $1.4 million this year. And then I watched Ed and his group on the FinCom work their magic. Ed wasn't afraid to ask the real tough questions to get a budget that we could live with. We balanced the budget. No one got laid off. We didn't lose any services, and the budget that we have did not impact the taxpayers. That is an example of the incredible work that Ed Schwartz has done over the years for the town of Dighton. Ed, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oppose, abstain, the ayes have it. Would you like to come up to the microphone?
Sure you want to give me a microphone? No, I just want to say thank you. I'm humbled. I'm truly humbled because, you know, I did it for my love of what I like to do. I like to be involved. I enjoy the financial portions of it. I think it's more than a dozen different selectmen have been on the board during my tenure, and close to, I think it's 15 different members of the FinCom. I think I've outlasted a lot of people. I don't know how I did it, but I outlasted a lot of people. You know, when I moved to town about 20 years ago, it was by chance that I joined the Finance Committee, because it was right after the town council had ruled that if you served, or had interpreted that if you served on the Finance Committee, you could not serve on any other committee in town. And it just so happened that like every member of the Finance Committee was serving on another committee, and they all left. I think there was one member left. And we went through a rough spell at the beginning of that member didn't want to give up some stuff, and he finally resigned, and there was no members left when we finally had the first appointment. And I would be remiss if I didn't thank the previous town moderator, Mr. McKeon, because as Mr. Zografos talks about what he learned from me, I learned a lot from our town moderator, and he is still a resource in my life for what I was able to accomplish here. And then, you know, going back 20 years as a new guy in town, we can all understand, and Woody and I have had our ups and downs for 20 years. Getting acceptance in the town as a new guy is sometimes difficult, and it takes time, but I think if you can build your own respect, and people will respect differences and respect differing opinions, because there has been a lot of times on the FinCom that not everybody has agreed, but we get the job done. And I'm glad that people feel that I'm leaving the town in a better place than where it was. That's all I need to hear. And I thank all the residents for all the support that I've had. And you know, we have professionalized government. That is one of the top things that I advocated. I think it took 5 to 7 years before we got it done, but I think the town is positioned for the future. And you know, I hope, and I've told the town administrator I will be there as a resource. Just pick up the phone. I'm a phone call away. I'm not going to leave. This is the last budget that I helped to prepare. Until you guys get it finalized in November, you know, I may not be a member of the committee, but I'm there as a resource, and I think it's left in good hands with the 5 members that were appointed at town meeting. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Public input. So when you give public input, you're going to give us your name, your address, and please be respectful. You're going to come to the microphone, whoever wants to speak, and also if there's anybody on Zoom that wishes to speak. So is there anybody here that wishes to give any public input? Mr. Woods, could you sign the form that's up there, please?
Robert Woods, 158 Chase Street. And I'm here because of last week's meeting and the things that you said about the American flag. And also the article in the Gazette where Selectman Zografos had the gay pride flag flying in Mr. Mullen's office. I found that very disrespectful to the town, to the building, to our new town administrator. And I'd like to put this flag issue to bed. I don't know where you want to go with it. I think you know how the town feels, the majority of the town. You said it before. It was dividing the town. I'm speaking, sir.
Yeah, I didn't say anything,
Okay,
sir.
you were about to. And, you know, somebody else on Facebook put it, you know, you want to put it over here where this new community garden's going to go, and there's room for more flags. And somebody said, you know, the name for that park would be Discrimination Park. Is that what you want to bring to this town? Because, you know, somebody's going to come along with this flag. and they're gonna want this flag flown. And we don't wanna see that. I didn't bring this here, you know, to say I wanna fly this flag, and I never would. But someone will, okay? And I want you to really think about that. You're dividing the town. You guys are here to represent us, not represent yourself and your own feelings. And that's about really all I have to say. I'm very disappointed in last week's meeting. You know,
If I could-
I'm a veteran, and the flag means an awful lot to me.
Well, it means an awful lot to me, but if you listen to...
I don't believe it does, sir.
Wait, I'm speaking now, okay?
Okay.
I said that the founding fathers were racist, that they wrote a constitution that enslaved another race, and that's racist, and that the flag, the American flag, doesn't represent everybody, specifically the LGBTQ community. And that's why I'm in favor of flying, not flying the flag, but putting the flag on the building over there. So that's
You know,
what I
my
said.
family were
You
all
know,
Masons, and my mother was on the Eastern Star. So you calling us prejudiced? Are we racist?
I said if you listen to the video, the YouTube, I said our founding fathers were racist.
I don't believe they were.
They enslaved people of another race. That's not racist? If that isn't racist, I don't know what is then, quite frankly.
You know, if you look at the history, I think slavery in the United States, we treated the slaves in the United States a lot better than they were treated all over the world. But, you know, I'm not here to talk about slaves. I'm not here to talk
You're talking about what I said at the meeting last week, and that's what I said, okay? I've had the flag flying at my house on a flagpole, not attached to the house, but on a flagpole, not attached to my truck, on a flagpole for the last 19 years. Don't tell me that I don't respect the American flag. I don't need to hear that from you or anybody else, but just listen to the YouTube video, and that's not what I said. I never said that was a racist flag.
I listened to it.
Well, good. Then you know what I said then, because I never said it was a racist flag. I said the founding fathers were racist, and anytime anybody enslaves another race, they're racist.
And there was also an article in the newspaper last week about Taunton not wanting to fly the gay pride flag. And they spoke with their legal counsel, who advised them not to.
I didn't read the article.
You didn't read the article? Well, it's online, you can look it up. Okay?
Hello,
We have the same town council as the city of Taunton does, gay and gay. They advised not to. So,
Well, I'm sure if it gets to the point that we have our public
if you want to
hearing,
keep continuing to bring this up,
we're going to talk to town council, obviously. We want to make sure we're avoiding any possibility of a lawsuit. But that will have to happen, obviously, before we actually come up with a flag policy.
okay. You know, I think that there's a lot bigger issues in town, such as, you know, speeding, taxes, trash. The streets are littered with trash. My wife and I picked up 5 bags of trash behind Alice's. And if you drove by there today, you wouldn't think that we picked up anything.
I agree with what you're saying, that there are a lot of other issues, but this is also one of those issues. But I agree that we can do all those different things. Speeding is
Well, I'd like to see the flag issue put to bed, sooner the better.
I've suggested that we will have a hearing on this, because I think the public has a right to express their opinions, to give us what they think should happen. It has divided the town, but I'm not sure who has the majority support, whether it's the gay pride flag or not. I know the more vocal group.
I don't see any of them here. I mean, I attend all the Human Rights Committee meetings,
know,
as you
yes,
know, because
yes.
you're on there and you see me, I'm there at every one of them. And in my opinion, they're really not a Human Rights Committee. They only focus on themselves and the gay pride thing.
That's not the only focus.
You know, some of their other agenda items was Asian hate crime.
Yep.
No one did any research on that. They really didn't even know what they were speaking of. And then the last meeting that I attended, they talked about coming up with a symbol for human rights. Not one person on that committee knew that there was an international symbol of human rights. So it's like every meeting I attend, I do a little homework. You know, Google is your friend. So I Google whatever the subject is or the topic matter, and I do a little reading on it. Not one person on that committee knew that that existed. But they wanted their own. And it's like a little blue figure. It kind of looks like a hand and a bird. But it wasn't good enough for them. They wanted it multicolored. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that wishes to speak? Mr. Woods, Mr. Adams, would you come up and sign that and give your address, please?
It's good to see you both. You too. Welcome to Dighton as the new selectman. Both these men know me. I'm Bob Adams from Elm Street. I came here tonight to address the issue of the flag. Some of the comments I'm going to address, or would like to address, with things that were put in the paper. First of all, I want to address not so much the legal aspect, because I'm not a lawyer, but I have worked with you on the zoning board for years and studied what I have. But there are rules to follow, okay? And these rules about flags and stuff in public property, separation of church and state, all of that, it goes hand in hand with the issue we have here. And this issue right now is an inflammatory issue. And I don't want to lose, but from a legal aspect, the rules and stuff, if the town, you took the same oath that I took in the interest of the town, in the best interest, not personal interest and not community issues or whatever other issues, just what is the issues. This is a court of law, and the things that go on in this thing are an issue, and this is at a town level. And it's just not a good practice, like the issue we had before us at the police station about having a right-of-way on private property. You can't separate this. If you put a flag up, it wouldn't matter what flag it is, and like Woody said, somebody's gonna come along with a flag that you're not gonna like, okay? And we're all not gonna like it, right? But this town really, the legal aspect, the court costs in the paper yesterday, Taunton dumped it on, or put it on to Shauna O'Connell to make this decision, which I think is a little bit of a political aspect. But their legal point of view is the same as the town council we have here, and that enough said. But I wanted to address the issue about the flag in the statement that was made about the founding fathers. When this was all brought up and brought in, there certainly was probably racism in there, but the men that were there doing it were the only people in there in Boston, Washington, and Philadelphia, because there wasn't any other place. And they didn't base this flag to represent the Republicans, Democrats, the United States, or any other place. The United States hadn't even been formed yet. That was to represent democracy. And democracy is the most important thing we have here. And this guarantees everyone inalienable rights, and you know it and I know it. And I'm trying to let other people that maybe see this or hear this understand it too. That we have fought wars over just for democracy, not for slavery or civil rights or the rebels, the Confederacy or anything. It was to secure democracy that guarantees those rights. And that's where I want to address the issue that you put, that flag represents a safe place in a community base. This town is a safe place you can come and not have to worry. You came to the zoning board as a young man. We welcomed you in open arms. You were elected on your first run. It would have been enough just to say that. And that's that simple. This issue should not be brought before the Board of Selectmen as an issue. If you put it anywhere, the liability is going to be endless, because that flag and there's other ones. I've got the Hillary Clinton deplorable flag. I might want to put that up. This is an issue. That has to stay separate from the town. Simple as that.
Well, it was suggested by Selectman Hull that we come up with a flag policy, and that's something that we might want to consider. But it's been mentioned at the last two meetings that Mr. Hull has suggested.
A flag policy. We have policies. The policy is you don't separate church and state public office. The liability,
Yeah, but
you can't make up rules as you go along, Ken. You don't know the rules. You can't just come in and say, let's change the rules.
there are towns that have flag policies,
Well, I'm
there are
sure they
towns.
have.
and we would have to check to see if they've ever been sued over somebody wanting to
Oh,
put
no,
in
I
specific...
wouldn't sue them over this flag. They're gonna sue you over the flag that they want.
That's what I'm saying, that if we come...
It's
up with
not
a
gonna
flag
end with the gay flag, or the gay rights flag, or gay community flag. I'm not sure if I got the right terminology.
Gay
But I wanna address something else too. Like you said in the paper, there isn't any of us that don't know somebody or love somebody in this community. And like I said to you before, just stand up and say they elected. You don't have to put a flag up. It's that simple. I hope this goes soon.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. You want to say?
Yes.
Selectman Hull?
I want to thank all of you for coming today, because this is your government. This isn't 1, 2, 3, and as I said before, it's not my show. It's the people in the town of Dighton. And with that is a perception that needs to be created. And I ran on this campaign on this issue. Professionalism, transparency, and working together. The division has to stop. We need to work together to overcome some obstacles. But some of the perceptions that need to be addressed have to do things that the Board of Selectmen have responsibility for. Because it starts in this house, right here, with us. Because if we create a perception of professionalism and total transparency, we don't have division. We have people working together. I'm going to speak specifically on 3 issues. Issue number 1, the flag. There's been much debate over the flag. You've heard me say at previous meetings that we need to take a look at a flag policy that is all-inclusive, to bring all the stakeholders to the table, to discuss a flag policy and a policy that addresses the needs of all groups in this town. Over the course of the next 3 months, there will be much discussion involving both public meetings and discussions with Board of Selectmen, Town Administrator Mullen, and many of the committees that are involved in this town in establishing some type of recognition policy, if you will, for all of the diverse groups. One of the things that I had deep concerns, and I've expressed it many times, is that the focus has been just on LGBTQ. That is unfair to them, because it's not just about one particular group. Because in my eyes, all people matter. And there are many other groups in this community who, for various reasons, have been quiet. You've heard me mention the Native Americans and why they've been quiet about some of the discrimination they've faced over the years. I'm very surprised. I want to bring them back to the table. But there are other groups as well. And I think that's important for 2 reasons. Because it builds a sense of community. We learn for that, and we celebrate their culture. And we celebrate the things that they have contributed to this melting pot that we call the United States of America. The second issue, which hasn't been mentioned tonight, but has been mentioned quite a bit on social media, and that has to do with Facebook, the Town of Dighton's Facebook page. I am very concerned about some of the exclusion that has gone on. And with that in mind, I am going to be advocating with my brother selectmen that the following policy changes be made. 1, that the town administrator be the only one that will be allowed to edit, delete, or block anyone from posting on that page. 2, that a criteria be established, published, so everyone is aware of what is the protocol and what will happen if that protocol is violated for people who post comments on a Facebook page. A policy that will be enforced equitably by an individual who doesn't live in the town, who is not concerned about the politics of the town. He's neutral. He's concerned about good government and representing all the people in the town. And I have tremendous vote of confidence in Mike Mullen in that regard. The third issue has to do with what Town Hall is about. Town Hall is a business office, the business of government, Town of Dighton, not politics. And I'll be working with my brothers to come up with some policies, some rules, if you will, that we will take politics out of that building. because it doesn't belong there. It divides the town. It also creates tension inside the building. There have been many issues, and some of you sitting out there know the history of some of those issues that have led to lawsuits, to disagreements, to nearly fights in that building. That's going to stop. That's not a good representation of the town. That's not the type of town or business management that I want to see in this town. And certainly, if I'm as a Board of a Selectmen, I will call it out. But here's my last point, and that's why I thank you for coming tonight. It's your government. I have no problem with you coming back if you're not satisfied. Hold us accountable. We serve you. Thank you.
Thank you, Selectman Hull. Is there any other public? You can sign that paper up there, Tom.
So I'd like to thank you for having me up here. I'm, for those of you that don't know me, I'm Tom Gallucci. I live on Palmer Street, and I am the chairman of the Dighton Republican Town Committee. But that isn't entering into this. I'm speaking to you tonight as an American. Last week, I was fairly incensed at your remarks. I don't think that's any secret. I made no secret of it that night either. You said the words, "that flag," and I can pull up the video, because we have a very succinct one on our Facebook page. That flag is not representative of all Americans. That flag is representative of whites, Protestants, and landowners. Your exact words, sir. I've studied it several times.
Yes, founding fathers, yes.
Now, to your, or to actually Mr. Woods' point, which was the slippery slope being a valid argument. And I mentioned that last week. The slippery slope is a valid argument. If you look right now, Liberty Counsel in, I forget where they're out of, but they have a lawsuit that is pending before the Supreme Court. The lawsuit is on behalf of Camp Constitution, run by Harold Shurtleff. The lawsuit is against the city of Boston, which has a flag policy. And Mr. Hull, the only factual statement I've ever heard Lyndon Baines Johnson utter was, the only thing in the middle of the road is a yellow stripe and dead armadillos. That is, to have a policy would open the door to these lawsuits that we were warning you about. First comes the guy with the Confederate flag, and somebody wants to have the pirate flag. I mean, who knows? Where does it end? In this case, in the case against Boston, they have a Christian flag that they're trying to put up. And they have already put up the flag of the Chinese Communist Party, the most murderous regime in the history of mankind. They make Hitler look like a piker. The long and short of it is, we've fought for this country. Many of us have sworn the oath to the Constitution, put on the uniform, and written that blank check with our lives. If I had been sent into harm's way, I would have gone. Those were my orders. It would have been without question. And there's a lot of people in this room right now who serve their country and have stood in harm's way for us. Your statement that the flag only represents that narrow constituency, I found, quite frankly, racist. But I don't find that to be a unique thing to, well, I do find it fairly unique to the Democratic Party. I mean, after all, they're the ones that gave us the KKK and Jim Crow. You mentioned as well in your retort to me last week that the people who stood up to Hitler were fighting in a segregated army. And that's true. That army was segregated at the insistence of Southern Democrats. In 1946, in the midterm elections, the Democrats lost the House of Representatives. Speaker of the House was Representative Joe Martin from Attleboro. Representative Martin led a Republican charge, and one of the first things they did was desegregate the armed forces. So I found your comments to be hypocritical in light of the fact that you opened the meeting with pledging allegiance to the flag. And that doesn't sit well with me.
You don't think we should do the Pledge of Allegiance?
No, sir, that's not what I said. Your comments were hypocritical in light of the fact that you opened with it. You showed a considerable amount of disrespect to the flag that night. That is how everybody construes it. That may not have been your intention, but that's how it came out. And I'd be willing to bet that right now, and you don't have to answer this, but right now you wish you could have taken that back. Maybe as it was coming out of your mouth.
No,
You may firmly believe those words.
I never said that the American flag is a racist flag. I never said that. I said the founding fathers who came up with the flag were racist because they allowed the enslavement of another race. And if that isn't racism, I don't know what is. And I don't want to get into the Democrats versus Republicans, because it was a Democrat who signed that bill that desegregated the services, was Harry Truman. That doesn't matter. The Democrats were wrong when they were part of the KKK and when they supported Jim Crow, and the Republicans are wrong on certain things too. I mean, that's just the reality. I'm not going to get into what's better. I understand you're from the GOP, you're the chairperson, I think that's what you said. I'm not getting into that. FDR did some bad things, as you mentioned last week.
Certainly.
But I wasn't getting into.
I mean, FDR went so far as to put the Japanese in concentration camps. That's disgusting. Had the war gone the other way, I mean.
Yeah, and it was Ronald Reagan, I think, who signed the bill that they got reparations. I believe it was.
Absolutely,
President
it
Reagan.
took 40 years.
Yeah.
So, my point is this, that your comments were, at best, ill-advised, and at worst, horrendously disrespectful. And on behalf of the veterans and the citizens of this town, I'd like to ask you for your apology, or perhaps a resignation. Either or.
You're gonna get neither, because
Thank you
you're
for your time, sir.
misinterpreting what I said. And I never said that the flag was racist. I never said that. I said it doesn't represent the LGBTQ people, but I did. Please look at the video.
We have it.
Please. I know, and I saw it, and you had a little clip of it. That you didn't have the whole thing I said. You had
We
a
had
little
the
clip.
remainder of it. We certainly did. So I'm not going to get into this huge tit-for-tat argument, and there are plenty of other people. I don't want to monopolize their time as well. But I do want to say that I'm incensed by those comments. And everybody who's seen the videos of that comment, they all took it the same way. So with all due respect, sir, thank you for your time.
With all due respect, do you think that the founding fathers who supported slavery, were they racist?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely, but
And
the
they-
founding fathers, if I may, these were the values of the time. So to take the values of that time and inflict our values on them is to completely misjudge them. You can't do that. People have developed, and society has developed. If you'll notice, it was the 9th and 10th Cavalry under the command of Blackjack Pershing, a segregated unit of Buffalo soldiers who charged up San Juan Hill, okay? Not the Rough Riders. It was those guys. What about the 442nd Regimental Combat Team in Italy in World War II? They were Nisei. Their families were in those concentration camps, stuck there by Roosevelt. But they still fought under that flag. And that's the flag that we all swore the oath to. That's the Constitution that I handed you on my way out the other night. Please read it.
I've read it several times. They weren't all racist at that time. John Adams was the abolitionist. They wanted that taken out of the. He wanted all the slaves to be free. Thomas Jefferson, who was a slave owner, wanted all the slaves to be free, but the South did not go along with it. So they were racist. You may think that because the majority, that's the way they were thinking, that was the correct thinking. That wasn't the correct thinking.
And their party at that time, the Democratic Republican Party, as they called it, eventually modified itself into the Democratic Party that we all know today,
I'm not getting
under
into-
Andrew
I'm-
Jackson.
I'm not getting into
So
political parties.
I'm not here to discuss that. What I'm here to discuss are your ill-advised comments from last week, and I think everybody else here is here as well for that. Thank you for your time again.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'm not going to comment on the discussion on the comments from last week. I did just want to bring up the article that, thank you, Mr. Galucci, for bringing to our attention. And there was a decision on that flag that they tried to fly, and it was that in a major ruling on free speech and religion, a city that has flown hundreds of flags supporting other causes was allowed to rebuff a Christian one, and the reason they were allowed to say no is because they had a policy and they were administrating it fairly and equitably. And that's all I have. Also, I do want to, can I give one suggestion? Sure. Public input input is really for the public, so I think it would behoove the Board of Selectmen to just allow the public to give their comments and maybe us not respond so much. It's really not a discussion, it's really just for the public to.
You're talking about policies and adapting stuff, and the policy, that's what I tried to get into when I was here before, is from a legal point of it, it isn't, I don't know if there's laws governing it or direct who is actually responsible. I'm not, like I said, a lawyer. But the rules were adopted the same as we adopted rules on the zoning board. Other towns have adopted rules and stuff on it. And it's surely there's some way of having, this town must have addressed this issue, because you and I have gone through this before our whole lives. It's new to him, but it's not new to us. It's like the, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but the Proposition 2.5 issue that you mentioned, because you don't know the rules, you can't make up rules. And I get it where you're coming from about this, but this, in the interest of the town, and look at it, it's already, we're talking about the flag, and the American flag, and it's too inflammatory, to be honest with you. You need to separate town from private entities. It's just good policy. That's enough. But
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Anybody else wish to speak? Is there anybody on Zoom that we know that wishes to speak?
Not that I know of, Mr. Chairman, we do not have anyone in chat. Is there anyone on Zoom who can hear us who wishes to speak? Hearing none, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. The next agenda item is the announcements, and Dr. Z, would you read the announcements, please?
Absolutely. Town of Dighton public buildings are open to the public. The library is closed to the public, but continues to offer curbside service. Uber and Lyft are offering everyone free rides to and from vaccination appointments from May 24th, 2021 through July 4th, 2021. The Parks and Rec Department will be hosting the first annual Dighton Firecracker event on July 10th, 2021 from 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. at the Carl K. Spratt Memorial Field. There will be food, bands, demonstrations, etc. For more information, contact Kevin Smith at ksmith@dighton-ma.gov.
Can we be quiet, please? Please. Can we be quiet, please? Please?
The Town of Dighton Food Bank distribution will be held next on, thank you everyone for coming.
Thank you.
The Town of Dighton Food Bank distribution will be held next on July 17th, 2021, located at the Town Hall, 979 Somerset Avenue, lower level as a drive-through. Reminder, license your dogs, it is the law. Leash your dogs for everyone's safety. All dogs 6 months of age or older must be licensed yearly beginning January 1st. All dogs must be restrained by a leash or chain when on any street or public place in town. If you have any questions, call the clerk's office at 508-669-5411, option 2. The 42nd Pam Mass Challenge will pass through Dighton on Saturday, August 7th. Please support your friends with a donation at this annual event, which represents over 64% of the Jimmy Fund's annual revenue.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next agenda item is the boards and committees spotlight. It's the cable committee. Do we have a representative from the cable?
Where's that arrow? There we go.
Who do we have from the cable?
Hi there, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
So we just wanted to talk kind of briefly about the help that we're looking for. We are a paid committee. We make minimum wage, so hopefully that's a little appealing. And we just need some extra help. We were kind of holding off for a while because our office is currently in kind of a renovation area. So it's not the prettiest office, but with all the meetings, we still have some hybrids and in-person. We are looking for some extra help. I'm working on some training documents actually right now too. So if you're not super tech savvy, I'll have some training documents that can hopefully help out. So if you have any interest in filming town meetings, we currently haven't been doing many Outlook town meeting type of videos just due to COVID and lack of community events, but that is something that we also do as offshoots. So if anyone has any interest, please feel free to reach out to us or the Board of Selectmen. And I know Leanne has been helping us a lot too. So if there is any interest, please let us know and we can answer any questions you have.
Okay, thank you, Laura. Does any board member have any questions?
You're a mind reader. You know me too well. Laura, did you want to make a comment? I know that the Cable Television Committee had a lot of good ideas for things that they wanted to work on coming up. Did you want to touch on any of that? Maybe for people who might be interested in like projects or anything like that?
Ooh, I kind of missed the first part of that. I'm sorry, Brett.
Oh, I'm not loud enough. I've never heard that before.
No, I could hear it, but I think it was my computer that cut it out. I'm sorry.
No worries. I was just saying, I know that the Cable Television Committee has a lot of ideas about different projects and upcoming projects in the future, like just different ideas on different things that you could do on Channel 9. And I didn't know if you wanted to touch upon any of them in case anyone was interested in any of that.
Yeah, so we've had a few ideas of shows we want to create, and obviously lack of help and resources was kind of a big lag there, but hopefully we're able to get some more equipment. We'd want to do some more shows. We did some with the town historian, which was great, and that kind of all came to a halt too with COVID, but we want to do more shows like that where we involve different town officials. We do more interviews so people can really get more information on town officials and what their roles and jobs are. We'd love to get the historical show back on the road too. That was great, the community corner. So we have a lot of ideas of what we want to do and we just need the help. So if anyone's interested, let us know. And I don't know if Dave or Andrew that are in there with you guys have anything they want to add, if I'm missing anything.
I think
they're all set.
They're good, okay.
Thank you, Laura, again.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Laura.
no problem.
So if anybody's interested, contact the Board of Selectmen.
Absolutely.
Next agenda item is the Town Administrator's report.
Yeah, so thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I have 3 very quick updates. 2 of them actually involve the Dighton portion of the Federal American Rescue Plan funding. As of yesterday morning at 9:59 a.m., we have requested as a town, the town share of actually $833,000 from the state for the first allotment of that funding. Originally, why the $833,000 might be actually a surprise was actually up until we went through this process, we were planning on approximately $780,000, and that and now our share has increased. Due to the state and federal allotment numbers, it's increased to $833,000. So we do have that request in, so our bases are covered on that. I do want to thank Mary Hathaway, our treasurer, who worked really diligently actually with me to get that done and make sure that was all taken care of. So more to come on that, but that funding will go into a segregated account until we have a plan for funding for that. The second update relates to the other tranche of the American Rescue Plan Act funding that the town of Dighton is eligible for to the tune of approximately $1.5 million. And that is actually coming by way of Bristol County at the moment. And I just actually handed out an email that we received actually earlier this afternoon from Maria Gomes, who is the county administrator for Bristol County and the 3 county commissioners. And the county, I'm actually right in our backyard at the Aggie, on Thursday, July 15th, at 6 p.m., the county commissioners are holding a meeting to discuss what is now likely anticipated as the county's administration of the federal ARPA funding. So I've already marked that in my calendar because that is very critical. And I know Mr. Howard is he's a Bristol County Advisory Board member. So if you're interested in attending, I think
Well,
that would be
attending.
very helpful and important. So what we understand, from actually a conversation I had with Ms. Gomes this afternoon, if the county is going to accept and administer the funds, which, as I understand, is not actually unlike how Norfolk County and Plymouth County are moving forward at the moment. They have to have their ducks in a row too, so they can't have an open and willy-nilly process. So they need to make sure that if they're handing out any funds, that they have to have their ducks in a line as well. So what I've heard this afternoon is we will have to basically quantify how the town of Dighton is proposing to spend our share of the $1.5 million in order to request it.
Selectman Hull?
I know that there are some limitations as to how the money can be spent.
Yes.
Is it still water, sewer, and broadband?
Yes, it's those three categories along with revenue replenishment as well. But I mean, just in my opinion, if we went down that road to fund revenues that we may have lost, arguably we would be creating structural deficits in our budget. And I would recommend really staying away from any revenue revenue areas, and really focus on capital spending that is needed. So I think going forward, especially with the work and through the work of the Capital Outlay Committee, along with groups like the Water District, for example, who's a lot of their priorities in the sewer department's priorities, they're intersecting with ours as a town right now. So I think there's really good reason that we need to be coordinated with both those groups and more on that. So I just wanted to provide that update really quickly, and then excuse me, I just want to admit this person. And then actually on the last item actually involves this room as well. I know over the last few weeks there's been a lot of audio and visual issues as we have worked everything out, all the mics out. I think actually tonight might be going a little better, knock on wood. Number one, we're not actually streaming, we are, actually aren't actually streaming a recorded, actually YouTube feed from here, which arguably might have interfered with our wireless. Additionally, we have that laptop plugged in. It's actually hardwired to the building. But additionally, we have ordered additional microphones. So hopefully within the next week, actually each member of the Board of Selectmen will have their own Zoom microphone in addition to the cable microphone. Then we'll have microphones here and at the podium well. And then the hope is because we need meeting room space. Once we have this room actually under control and working and operational, we would replicate the same thing in the lower conference room. So I understand there's been a lot of frustration. We've been frustrated at Tech as well. And we are on it. I was on the phone with our IT administrator actually at 8 o'clock this morning, just making sure that we were still going in a good direction on this.
Board have any questions?
Well, Mr. Mullen, I want to thank you and appreciate your efforts in dealing with this issue and improving it. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a work in progress. Obviously, this whole new hybrid phenomenon is new to everybody, but we have, this is something that everyone expects. We expect it, and we'll get there. And I really appreciate everyone's patience. Thank you.
Thank you.
Old business review, discuss and act on the library update. Do we have an update on the library situation?
We do, Mr. Chairman. I'll be brief on this, but it is important. So, I think last week it was. I've been getting all the weeks confused. Actually last week I mentioned that we had reached out in the prior week to the State Executive Office of Administration and Finance, who is administering the CARES Act funding. We outlined our challenges with the library that have also been exacerbated due to COVID as well, and asked if any funding from our available allotment of the CARES Act funding would be allowed, for a modular facility as we discussed. I received an email back, I believe on Monday morning this week. You're saying that it's their belief that a lot of the issues with the building predated COVID as well, and that unless essentially we made a greater nexus and connection to COVID, it would be really an uphill climb. So to that end, you'll see in our transfers that we're proposing later in the agenda, we do have a transfer request that would appropriate an additional $15,000 into the rentals and leases account in the public buildings line. We are going to have funding, thankfully, that's going to be remaining in that line anyways, which is why at this point we only need additional $15,000. But we know we need to move forward, and make sure we have a plan to open for Labor Day for the building. Additionally, we have the quotes on board from the engineering firm that's going to help us actually come up with specs and drawings for the ramp and the second egress. So had a conversation with Mr. Aguirre yesterday. We're going to move on that. And at the same time, we have also been in the same loop with Jocelyn Tavares, the director of the library, and she is going to reach out at the beginning of next week to the Mass Board of Library Commissioners, just really to share them where we're at and how we're planning to go forward, just to make sure, as we go forward, everyone has the same expectations as to how we're going forward. So at the very end of this, we don't want to continue going down road with a plan, and then find out at the last minute we have to modify. So it's better, if we bring everyone into the fold now, and share that we really have a plan now. Additionally, for the second egress, actually, Mr. Aguirre, he also thinks a lot of the construction work will also, he thinks a lot of the construction work can be done in-house, and a lot of it would be able to be done over the summer as well. So I want to thank Mr. Aguirre, I want to thank Mr. Tavares and everyone who has been involved in this effort, but we're moving, how we're moving forward I know isn't ideal for a host of reasons, but it's a way that we hopefully know we're going to actually keep and maintain our accreditation. And then as we go forward, we'll solidify a more longer-term plan as well.
Thank you. You have a question?
Actually, Mr. Pacheco, the question is to you. You were on the Capital Outlay Committee.
I've attended one meeting, and we get to the second meeting tomorrow.
I was just wondering, if they've had any discussions about the library or...
We're going to actually discuss it tomorrow. It's on the
Okay.
agenda.
Okay, great.
Yes.
That's the main item that we're going to discuss tomorrow.
Oh, great. Thank
We
you.
had scheduled this meeting from last month, so we didn't want to change the date, but it's a Zoom meeting, so we'll have that tomorrow. Thank you.
And
The second item is reopening the task force for the Council on Aging.
yes, again, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And also, Mr. Ferry is here from the Council on Aging Board as well this evening. The task force has been meeting with Director Souza and with Mr. Ferry over the last few weeks. We had one meeting around the time of June 4th, and then a follow-up meeting, I believe on the 16th last week. And at this point, we have a plan for the reopening of the Council on Aging. and having the Council on Aging actually go back to the Housing Authority to recontinue the Council on Aging's programming and operations, as normal at the Housing Authority, and also here in the pavilion as well. At this point, the only recommended divergence that we have in line with where the public health protocols are is when the reopening task force presented to the board at the end of May, we recommended that for the offices, the town hall offices that already had the plexiglass up, that we would keep the plexiglass up. And there's nothing actually requiring plexiglass anymore, but we're keeping it there. Going with the Council on Aging moving back to the Housing Authority, there's a position from the reopening task force that plexiglass, especially based on social distancing as well, won't actually be needed at the Council on Aging's Housing Authority offices. So it's not recommended that we do anything with the plexiglass there. So in talking with Mr. Ferry, the Highway Department has plans to move the Council on Aging offices back to the Housing Authority the week of the 4th of July. And then we have a follow-up meeting relative to the status of prime time, in mid-July as well, that we will present actually that update to the board at the board's second July meeting as well. So that's where we are with that, if there's any questions.
Does the board have any questions? I don't. Thank you. Next agenda item is Selectmen's reports and comments. The only thing I have to add is that regarding COVID, we haven't, since May 31st until June 20th, we've had no positive cases in Dighton, which is great, and that 47% of our residents have been vaccinated. Total of 3,845 have been vaccinated. And keep in mind, although it says 47%, that there are those under the age of 12 that can't be vaccinated, but they're counted in that total figure. So Dighton should be proud of the number of people that have been vaccinated, and very pleased that we haven't had any positive COVID cases in 3 weeks.
Yeah, that's great. I saw that.
I do have.
Yes. Selectman Hull.
Earlier this month, the Dighton Water District met. I am the liaison for the Board of Selectmen with that group. At that meeting, it was announced that the Main Street Revitalization Project will begin this fall. The project will include new sidewalks, curb cuts, and water lines from Route 138 to Williams Street. Our Water Superintendent, Jeff Clunin, wanted to thank DPW Superintendent Tom Ferry for his efforts and support of this joint project. Also discussed were concerns over the Dora Estates project in Taunton. Several potential problems were discussed, and those concerns had to do with potential damage to Dighton's aquifers that feed our wells. The Segregated River borders this project. The Dighton Water District is working closely with officials from both Dighton and Taunton to resolve this issue. To date, water testing has indicated no damage to the wells. Also, the DEP is also monitoring the situation. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other Selectmen reports?
Yes, I have a couple, so bear with me. So I have reports and then some comments. So one, I just wanted to, I actually thought you were going to do it, so I will steal your thunder since you didn't. Let me back up. We had feedback last week, and it was a good idea about traffic safety grants. So I did some research later that night and found out that they do exist, and they exist specifically for speed enforcement. They're not a crazy amount of money, but they will give you resources and money. So I then found that Reading had also recently received one, specifically for speed enforcement, so I forwarded that information to the town administrator, who reached out to DPD. The application, I believe, is due the end of the month.
Yeah,
and
June 30th.
so we are looking forward to meeting that deadline for that. Yeah.
We're going to be able,
Yes.
Yeah.
Sergeant Cronin has been on it. He's been doing great.
Great.
And I've been in daily communication with him, so things are going well.
And he, as you recall, helped with the IT grants as well recently. And just so the public is aware, the traffic safety grants for speed enforcement are in line with increased speed enforcement around town being a priority for Dighton Police Department. I also wanted the board to know that I did reach out to the Carnegie Foundation for assistance or any ideas regarding the Dighton Public Library, as it is in original Andrew Carnegie building, and I am waiting to hear back, so I'll apprise the board once I do. I also wanted to add, and I didn't add this under public input because, as I stated, I really feel my personal opinion is, and everybody has probably a different opinion, but that really is the public's chance to tell us what they think, and I feel like my job is to listen. But I did want to add that I do plan on writing a draft flag policy, and just so the board is aware, I have some gravitas on policy writing. I wrote the workplace violence prevention policy, the town's hiring policy, the social media policy, et cetera, et cetera. And just so the public is aware, this document, after feedback from the public and from the selectmen and town administrator and the relevant stakeholders, is a document that would always be reviewed by town council for their feedback as well and advice. And I did just want to add, we do have a social media policy, only because you had alluded to this during your comments. I look forward to seeing what you present, your edits to the current social media policy, but I stand by if you, hey, Mr. Karen, how you doing? Good. Yeah, it wouldn't be
Yes.
downstairs. Yeah.
Yes.
You're at Old Town Hall.
take care.
Nice to see you, though. So on the About section of the page in the impressum, it says, if you write a disparaging comment, it will be deleted. And that is something that the selectmen agreed upon. It's something that Town Administrator Aaronstein had agreed upon, and it's a policy that was heavily reviewed by Town Council. I think that what happens when you delete a comment, so the public is aware, if you've ever written one that has been deleted, this is the process. It gets deleted, it gets saved. It then gets forwarded to the town clerk in accordance with the public records law. What I'm not personally going to support is having the town administrator be in charge with being basically a page moderator, spending all their valuable time deleting people's inappropriate comments. The comment that was in question was a comment made by a Rhode Island resident. It was inappropriate, it did single people out, and it was deleted. It was saved, and it was forwarded to the town clerk. I don't want our town administrator, who is paid well for the hard work that they do, being spent chasing rabbit holes and Facebook nonsense. And I will never support a change to a policy that says anything else other than allowing, just so the public is aware, the people who have administrative rights to the Facebook page are the 3 selectmen, including the 3 here tonight, the town administrator, the administrative assistant, and the executive assistant. And we all post, we all share information, because that's the point of the page. So if folks want to be mad about saying Happy Pride Month, they can be mad about that. If they think that that's political, they're entitled to that opinion. I don't share that opinion. I'm not going to apologize for my opinion, and I'm not going to apologize for deleting inappropriate comments and saving them for public records. My last comment is about transparency. There's been a lot of talk about transparency, and I've been very quiet. So I just want to talk about the transparency that this Board of Selectmen has brought to Dighton. We created all the social media. So the social media that they were complaining about, where they saw your comments, the reason why they were able to see your comments is because we put all the meetings on YouTube, because your government has nothing to hide. We also started emailing the agenda and, wait for it, the packet. We are the only town that I'm aware of that gives the public the exact information that the selectmen will be reading that evening. We revamped the website. I did that myself as a gift to the town because I believe that making information more accessible and having people know what your government is doing in your name is a right, not a privilege, and I will always believe that. So I just wanted to set the record straight, but I wanted to end on a good note. The AgCom, I believe, did approve the expenses for the James Brigg Community Garden as requested for the by the custodian. So those are my updates.
That's good, good to hear. Moving on to the new business is review, discuss, and act on the Board of Selectmen's annual appointments. I'm going to be asking for a motion to approve the following appointments to different committees and commissions. In employment, Administrative Assistant to the Board of Selectmen, Leanne Kerwin. These are all for 1 year unless I mention a
Stop
different
right
date.
there. No. Let's talk about this now.
Agent to the Board of Health, James Aguirre. Agent to the Board of Health, Kevin Bernardo. Agent to the Board of Health, Mark Pacheco. Agent to the Board of Health, Todd Pillings. Agent to the Board of Health, Alice Souza. And Agent to the Board of Health, Pamela Waller. Agent to the Board of Health, Board of Selectmen, James Aguirre. The following members to be appointed to the Agricultural Commission is for 3 years. Agricultural Commission member, non-voting, Barbara Cadabia. Second member of the Agricultural Commission, Kenneth Arujo. Third member, Agricultural Commission, Leslie Blanchette. John Buffington, also to the Agricultural Commission, as well as Stacy Ferry to the Agricultural Commission. And that's all to June 30, 2024. The following are for a 1-year term. The Animal Control Officer, Stacy Ferry. Assistant Mechanical Inspector, Timothy Cutler. Assistant Plumbing and Gas Inspector, Timothy Cutler. Board of Health members, Kevin Bernardo, Thomas Pius, and Matthew Tanis. Board of Registers, this is for 3-year term. Mary Jane Kingsland. Bristol County Advisory Board, this is for 1 year. Leonard Hull. Building Commissioner, James Aguirre for 1 year. Building Commissioner Assistant, Glenn Hathaway for 1 year, as well as the Glenn Hathaway for the Building Inspector Local. Burial Agents, these are for 1-year terms. Arthur Morton, Mark Pacheco, and Pam Waller. Bylaw Review Committee members, and this is also for 1 year. Mark Levine, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, Kay Nalicki, and Mark Pacheco. Cannabis Policy Advisory Board members, and this is also for a 1-year term. Kevin Bernardo, Robert McDonald, Christopher McGee, Timothy Rhines, Kathleen Spencer, and Brett Zografos. I'll entertain a motion.
Before I make a motion, just one thing that popped out. Agricultural Commission, Mrs. Katabia, she's non-voting. I'm pretty sure the non-voting members are only 1 year. There's 3, excuse me. Myself, I should be on there. Mrs. Katabia, and Mrs. Pina, Kelly Pina. So I think we should all be on there. And I think Mrs. Horrell is an actual voting member, and she should be on a 3-year term. I know we staggered them, but then it was supposed to not be staggered anymore.
Oh, okay. I thought they were all the same, like all the same years.
I'm gonna look it up right now. Did anyone else find anything while I'm looking this up? Or was that the only thing that stuck out to us?
That's the only thing that stuck out for me.
Yes.
I just want to get it right.
Sure.
Because we don't want to have to wait if we want to have a meeting. Okay, sorry about that. There's a million
It's all right.
clicks. That user-friendly website, it takes you a little while. I'm sorry. So yes, Mr. Arujo, Mrs. Blanchette were up in 2021, as well as myself, Mrs. Pina, and Mrs. Katabia. Yes. So,
So I don't think the access database shows that.
Okay.
So we'll have to make sure that that's updated.
okay, no worries. So who should be on here tonight is Mr. Arujo. Sorry, everyone.
No, we gotta get it
Glad you
correct.
picked
And
it up.
he's 3 years.
Yep.
Mrs. Blanchette should be on there, and she's 3. And then myself, 1. Mrs. Pina, 1 year, and Mrs. Catavia, 1 year, as associate members. Okay. Can I make that amendment?
Sure, and then John Buffington and Stacy Ferry.
Shouldn't be on there at all. Yep.
They shouldn't be on there at all?
Nope.
They're members, but their term didn't come up, I guess.
Mrs. Ferry is through 2022, and Mr. Buffington is through 2023.
No, thank you.
So you so moved with that amendment. Is that correct?
Yes, and the
Second.
amendment is, the amendment is removing Mrs. Ferry and Mr. Buffington and adding Mrs. Catavia 1 year, myself 1 year, and Mrs. Pina 1 year as associate members. So that is my amendment, and we'll vote on that first.
Is there a second?
Second.
So we have a motion and a second?
Yes.
Okay.
Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve page 1 with the amendment on the appointments.
Is there a second?
Second?
Any
So if I could
discussion?
just add one
Yep.
thing.
Mm-hmm.
In the spreadsheet on the Cannabis Policy Advisory Board, just actually to the same, on the same wavelength that Dr. Z had mentioned, the full board also includes, actually Robert Woods and myself as well.
Yes.
In the 1 year appointment. So
That's, you caught that. I
But
didn't
you
even
had
catch
just been
that.
appointed.
But it was still only
only through the end of the fiscal.
Yeah.
January 30th of 2021, June,
Yeah.
excuse me, 30th of 2021, yeah. So we would all be reappointed now, that is correct.
Yeah. So add myself and Mr. Woods to that.
Mr. Chairman, I'm gonna retract my motion.
And, okay, and Dr. Z, he's you're not a voting member, right? Or you're just representing the
I
board?
think we're all like liaisons.
Yeah.
I think
Okay, okay.
did I vote? Maybe haven't ever voted. I took the minutes, I used to do that.
Yeah, like in my records, I have you as just in my records, the town administrator's records,
Yeah.
I have you as a voting member.
Okay,
Now,
I
what-
did not go to
committee was
any of
that?
the meetings recently, so I
cannabis
wasn't
stuff.
voting.
Oh,
Down the bottom there.
Woody's on that too?
Robert
Yes,
Woods, and
that's
that's for
good
1
catch.
year, as well as Mike Mullen.
So, Mr. Chairman, if it's okay, I'm gonna retract that last motion to,
Amendment?
I'm gonna make another amendment, if that's okay.
Sure.
Mr. Chairman, I motion that we amend this page 1 of appointments to add to the Cannabis Policy Advisory Board 2 members, one, Mr. Mullen, Michael Mullen, and Mr. Robert Woods.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it. And now on the motion for all the other members.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to make a motion that we make the following appointments according to page 1 as previously amended.
Second.
Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? The ayes have it. Dr. Z.
Thank you. Cemetery Commission, so this is page 2. Cemetery Commission member Chris Chandonnet, 3 years. COD Coordinator Jonathan, and the following are 1 year unless I mention 3. COD Coordinator Jonathan Gale. Communications 911 Director/Dispatcher, Mr. Paul Reed. Communications Dispatch Liaison, Teresa Costa. Communications Dispatcher Paul Bowden. Communications Dispatcher Alora Brock Clemens. Communications Dispatcher Teresa Costa. Communications Dispatcher Justin Jackson. Communications Dispatcher Brian Lahane. And Communications Dispatcher Vanessa Smith. Community Preservation Committee member from the Housing Authority, Adele Collard, for 3 years. Community Preservation Committee member at large, Conservation Commission associate member, let me restart. Community Preservation, the writing, just so the public is aware, is very close together. Community Preservation Committee member at large, David Marvel, 3 years. Community Preservation Committee member at large, Conservation Commission, no, see, different line, I'm sorry, this is
Yeah,
all
it's-
weird.
Yep.
There's no lines. Conservation Commission Associate Member Francis Christofouli for 3 years. Conservation Commission Member John Crawford, 3 years. Conservation Commission member James Digits, 3 years. The following appointments are for 1 year. Constable Luis Borges Jr., Ian Daly, Jonathan Leal, Daniel Lowney, Tyler Medeiros, Mark Pacheco, Stephen Pack, Matthew Pollux, and Michael Thibodeau. Again, all 1 year. Council on Aging member Jeffrey Alley, 5 years. Development and Industrial Commission member Delphin Diosimido, 5 years, as well as, and we don't have to do an amendment now, as well as Leonard Hull, liaison to the Board of Selectmen. And how many years should that be? Do we know?
We can go 5 years, I guess, and then,
Well, it wouldn't be 5 years because my term is only 3.
3, yeah, we'll do 3. That's safe. Is that okay?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so again, the amendment, well, it's not an amendment. Leonard Hull, Dighton Development Industrial Commission member, 3 years. Dighton Cultural Council member Allison Roach, 3 years. Dighton Cultural Council member Brett Wilson, 3 years. The following are 1 year appointments. Dighton Trails Committee member Karen Alves. Dighton Trails Committee member Robert Baglini Jr. Dighton Trails Committee member Rachel Bagan. Dighton Trails Committee member Jeffrey Carvalho. Dighton Trails Committee member Rachel Conti. Dighton Rehoboth Regional Agreement Task Force member Robert Rendon. And I have the distinction of being Dighton Rehoboth Regional Agreement Task Force member as well, all again for 1 year.
I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I motion that we approve page 2, approve the appointments on page 2 as read this evening.
Is there a second?
Second?
Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, the ayes have it. Selectman Hull, can you read the third page?
Yes. The following positions are for 1 year. Dighton Rehoboth Advisory Finance Committee, Nancy Goulat, that'll be member at large. Dighton Rehoboth Regional Study Committee member Matthew Arguin. Dighton Rehoboth Regional Study Committee member Sarah Gates. Dighton Rehoboth Regionalization Study Committee member Dan Wilger. Electrical Inspector Thomas Ross. Electrical Inspector Assistant Kevin Smith. Emergency Management Director Christopher McGee. Emergency Preparedness Committee Coordinator, a non-voting member, Jonathan Gale. Emergency Preparedness Committee member, Thomas Ferry. Emergency Preparedness Committee member, Robert McDonald. Emergency Preparedness Committee member, Christopher McGee. Emergency Preparedness Committee member, Todd Pilling. Emergency Preparedness Committee member, Thomas Pius. And Emergency Preparedness Committee member and non-voting member, James Aguirre, all for 1 year term. Fence Viewer Field Driver, Carol Beauregard. Fence Viewer Field Driver, Eric Easterday. Fence Viewer Field Driver, Nancy Goulat, all for a 1 year term. Forest Master, John Crawford. 40B Committee Member, Nelson DeMello. 40B Committee Member, Jonathan Gale. 40B Committee Member, Charles Mello. 40B Committee Member, Thomas Pius. 40B Committee Member, Alice Souza. And 40B Committee Member and Board of Selectmen Representative Kenneth Pacheco, all for a 1 year term. Gas Appliance. No.
Nope.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Gadget Advisory Board Representative of the Disabled Commuter Population, Erin Ferry, for 1 year term. General Volunteer Ronald Smith. Grave Officer Christopher Reddy. Harbor Master Ronald Marino. Harbor Master Assistant Alexander Zembaliski. Harbor Master Assistant Mark Duffy, all for one-year term.
I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I motion that we approve the appointments presented on page 3 this evening. Excuse me. I motion that we, I wish former Selectman Goulart were here sometimes. I motion that we approve the appointments as read by Selectman Hull this evening on
Second.
page 3.
Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, abstention, the ayes have it. I'm going to ask for a motion to appoint the following members to the different committees. Harbor Master Assistant, Mark Marino, that's for 1 year. Historical Commission Member, Pamela Nickerson, this is for 3 years. And all of the following names that I'm going to read are for a 1-year term. Human Rights Committee Member, Nicole Campbell. Human Rights Committee Member, Roberto Font. Human Rights Committee Member, Lisa Minor. Human Rights Committee Member, Steve Mullen. Human Rights Committee Member, Vignan Asa. Human Rights Committee Member, Liaison for the Board of Selectmen, Ken Pacheco. Human Rights Committee Member, Kristen Pius. Human Rights Committee Member, Alicia Sudnert. And Human Rights Committee Member, Vice Chair Jill Haru. Inspector of Animals, Stacy Ferry. Insurance Advisory Committee Member, 911 Communications, Paul Reed. Insurance Advisory Committee Member, Mary Hathaway. Insurance Advisory Committee Member for the Fire, Thomas Medeiros. Insurance Advisory Committee Member for the Highway, Michael Barabee. Insurance Advisory Committee Member for the Library, Phyllis Haskell. Insurance Advisory Committee Member for the Police, Ryan Richards. And Insurance Advisory Committee Member, Retirees, Gary Sanson. Insurance Advisory Committee Member, Water District is Tina Braga. IT Committee Member, Todd Claudia. IT Committee Member, Sean Cronin. IT Committee Member, Dave Marvel. IT Committee Member, Jocelyn Tavares. Land Use Committee Members, James Aguirre, Jessica Daly, David Eckerson, David Neely, Mark Pacheco. Land Use Committee Member ad hoc is Thomas Ferry, and Local Building Inspector is Jeffrey Mello. MMA Committee on Energy and the Environment Representative, Nancy Goulart. Mooring Officer, Mark Duffy. Municipal Building Study Committee Interim Member is Brett Zografos. And Municipal Building Study Committee Member, James Aguirre. I entertain a motion.
Can I make 2 amendments?
Sure.
Or will at least, you know,
Yep.
make them and then we don't have to agree. I had spoke to Mrs. Campbell and Mrs. Minor recently, and I thought they were resigning from the Human Rights Committee because for various reasons, nothing bad, but we never got anything.
No, when I went back today and looked at my emails, there was talk of Lisa. I know about Lisa, but nothing's formally been submitted.
Okay, all right, so we'll make
I know
them.
we're going to meet in July, and I'm sure we can address it then.
Okay,
So,
and the change I definitely want is, or I'm going to advocate for, is taking me off the Municipal Building Study Committee as an interim member. I was only on there when Town Administrator, in that period between Town Administrator Aaronstein and Town Administrator Mullen.
So you're coming off the committee totally?
Yeah, I was never really on there.
And
Well, we went to we had one meeting before it got really going, that I served on. We didn't really vote on anything other than electing a chair and a clerk. It was a very short 10-minute meeting, so.
are you asking that Mike Mullen's name be?
I am, yeah, absolutely.
So you are making a motion, then we make that amendment?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I motion that we amend page 4 to reflect where it says Brett Zografos Municipal Building Study Committee. It should be Town Administrator Mullen and not as an interim member, as a member.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, abstention, the ayes have it. On the motion for those names that I just mentioned, or that you just read, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I motion that we approve the appointments listed on page 4 with the accepted amendment.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, abstention, the ayes have it. Selectman Hull, can you read the next page?
Yes, the following positions are for one-year terms. Municipal Building Studies Committee Member, Christopher McGee. Municipal Building Study Committee Member, Dennis McGee. Municipal Building Study Committee member, non-voting member, Robert Rendon. Municipal Coordinator, Right to Know, James Aguirre. Municipal Hearing Officer, David Gay. Municipal Liaison to the Ethics Commission, Mark Pacheco. Open Space Committee member, Thomas Borkwood. Open Space Committee member, Jessica Daly. Open Space Committee member, Kevin Smith. Open Space Committee non-voting member, Brett Zografos. Parking clerk, Mark Pacheco. From the Police Department, following positions are for 1 year. Police Department Detective, Ryan Richards. Police Department Patrolman, Nicholas Barrows. Police Department Patrolman, James Duddy. Police Department Patrolman, Stephen Ferrera. Police Department Patrolman, Stephen Hathaway. Police Department Patrolman, Tyler Hazel. Police Department Patrolman, Todd Kuzuski. Police Department Patrolman, Christopher Megan. Police Department Patrolman, Mike Marshall. Police Department Patrolman, Jason McGovern. Police Department Patrolman, Greg Steele. Police Department Sergeant, Sean Cronin. Police Department Sergeant, George Nichols. Policy Review Board members, all for 1 year terms. Michael Berraby. Colleen Bork. James Duddy. Christopher Reddy. Paul Reed. Jocelyn Tabares. Public Records Access Officer Assistant, Pamela Waller. And Reserve Police Officers, Brock Clemens, Joseph DuPont, Jared Jackson. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
May I make an amendment?
Yes.
I believe we should also be reappointing, I should say, Mr. Mark Pacheco as the Public Records Access Officer for a term of 1 year as well. We only have Mrs. Waller on the list, but when Mrs. Medeiros was clerk, she served as Public Records Access Officer, and Mrs. Waller, as the Assistant Town Clerk, served as the Assistant Public Records Access Officer. So I had alluded to public records earlier, and that's why those deleted posts are, which there's only been a handful, are forwarded to the town clerk as the Public Records Access Officer.
So do we have two then? Is that what we're going to continue with Pam Waller as well as? Mark
She's the
Pacheco?
Assistant
Okay.
Public Records Access Officer, and Mr. Pacheco would be the regular, I don't know what word to use, just the
So
officer.
I'll entertain a motion then to add Mark Pacheco as the Public Record Access Officer.
And that is correct, right?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
just making sure.
That's a really good catch. Thank you.
Okay.
And for a 1 year term.
See, I'm useful sometimes. Once in a while. I'm just kidding. Mr. Chairman, I motion that we amend page 5 to reflect Mr. Mark Pacheco as Public Records Access Officer for a term of 1 year.
I second.
Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, abstention, the ayes have it. Now I'll entertain a motion to approve all the appointments that we just read.
Mr. Chairman, I motion that we approve the appointments listed on page 5 with the accepted amendment.
I second.
Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, the ayes have it. The next page.
Do you want me to read page 6, or do you want
No,
to?
I'll do it.
Okay.
Reserve Officer, these are all for 1 year unless I say it's for 2 years. Reserve Police Officer Justin Jackson. Reserve Police Officer Timothy O'Leary. Reserve Police Officer Aaron Schwartz. Sealer of Weights and Measures Ray White. Soil Conservation Commission members Tom Ferry, Leonard Hull, Charles Mello, Ken Pacheco, Brett Zografos, and as an alternate, James Aguirre. Special Municipal Employee Outside Expert Appraiser, George Sansorsi. Special Police Officer, Edward Dutra. Special Police Officer, William Perry. Serpent Commissioner, Jeffrey Cavallo. Stormwater Committee members, James Aguirre, Tom Ferry, William Frenette, Nancy Goulart, Todd Pillings, Tom Pius, and the Board of Health representative is Todd. He's on there twice.
Just double it up.
I think he shouldn't be under Stormwater Committee member. He should be under Stormwater Committee member, Board of Health
Okay.
representative.
So I'm
That
gonna
was
take
how
him
that
off.
worked.
So we don't need a motion, I'm just gonna take him off
Yep.
the reading of that.
Yep.
Todd Pillings as the Stormwater Committee member, Board of Health representative. Stormwater Committee member, Planning Board representative is Timothy Rhines. And Taunton River Stewardship Council is Mark Duffy. Tax Possession Custodian, Mary Hathaway. The following two are for 3-year terms for Taxation Aid Committee, Alice Souza and Brian Brown. TIF Review Board member, David DeRosa, is for 1 year. TIF Review Board member, Peter Roach. Tobacco Control Agent, Sarah LaRue. Tobacco Control Coordinator, Zeth Baker. Tobacco Control Enforcement, Marilyn Edge. And for a 2-year term, Town Council, Gay and Gay Private Council. Town Nurse for 1 year is Laurie Damaris. Veterans Agent, Raymond Haig. Zoning Board of Appeals and Planning Board Office Manager, Kerry Easterday. And Zoning Board of Appeals member, Jonathan Gale. This is for a 3-year term, as well as the appointment of Zachary Karen for a 3-year term to the Zoning Board of Appeals as an associate member. And the Zoning Board of, Zoning Enforcement Officer, James Aguirre, and that's for a 1-year term. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that the following positions as read be approved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? If not, we'll take a vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstention, the ayes have it. Phew. Remember, Dr. Z, used to take a little longer because I
Oh
think we
my,
went through
it was,
each
yeah.
individual
No, this is good.
person,
This is
so,
great.
It's nice to see it go so
Can
quickly.
may I make a suggestion?
Sure.
Just an observation as we were going through the appointments, I noticed that the TIF Review Board and the Open Space Committee don't really have quorums anymore, so maybe the next spotlights should be those two. That's it.
That would be good. The next agenda item on the new business, review, discuss, and act on credit for years of service from Lisa Degassi, Assistant Town Accountant. The Board of Selectmen received a letter on June 6, 2021, addressed to the Board of Selectmen, to whom this may concern. I respectfully request to have my earned years of service from the Town of Rainham of 2 years and 7 months carried to the Town of Dighton for vacation purposes only. I do understand that the probationary period applies. And it's signed by Lisa Degassi. We've done this in the past for our employees, so I will entertain a motion.
Before I make a motion, I just wanted to ask, since it is a practice, at least for the few years that I've been here, that we do give employees credit for their years of service, both union and non-union, or we have, that has been our practice. Why do we have to wait until we receive the letter from the employee? Why isn't this just automatically happening? That's my one question.
That's a very good point. To be honest with you,
Like, what if this employee didn't find out?
Yep.
Like, what, I'm not saying someone would do this, but I'm just saying, like, it just puts us in a precarious position. So I think going forward, we could get out in front of this rather than waiting for the employee to.
yes,
out
I
to us about
wholeheartedly
this.
agree, Dr. Z. Actually, Lisa was only the second employee I was involved in hiring. We went through the same process for the first employee with whom I was involved in hiring. And yeah, I think making this a regular part of the onboarding paperwork and just making sure we do this as a practice rather than having to come before. Yes, I completely agree.
And I think we had spoke, just to nip this in the bud, we had spoke, actually I should say I spoke to former Assistant Town Accountant, Mrs. McCarran, before she left. And I said, what are the really important things that you think we should do? Because she'd been here so long. She'd seen, every scenario she had encountered. So she was just a wealth of knowledge. And she said that a non-union employee benefits policy that stipulates how all non-union employees for the town of Dighton would be treated in terms of their vacation time and things like credit for years of service might be something that we could work on. I know we've talked about it, so I just wanted to make the board aware of that, so that maybe going forward, we may not, although this person is a union employee, but we'll have it enshrined going forward, so everyone is clear on that.
Great.
Mr. Chairman, I motion, if there is no more input, that we approve Mrs. I'm gonna say, I'm the one saying the last name incorrectly. Everyone says mine incorrectly. Guess.
Like I mispronounce it, but it's actually Dagis.
Dagis, of course. Now it makes sense. Okay, Mr. Chairman, I'm gonna start again. I motion that we approve
I really butchered it then.
Dagis.
Dagis.
Okay,
yes.
My apologies.
It took me a while
I'm
as
gonna
well.
say it a couple times, that we approve
Decent.
Mrs. exactly, Dagis's request for acknowledgement of her, or for credit for years of service in other municipalities as presented this evening.
I second.
Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, the ayes have it.
And someone will reaches out to the accounting
Oh,
department
yes.
to let them, okay,
Yes.
well, she is the accounting,
Yes.
so you know what I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
okay, just making sure.
Yeah, hopefully, I mean, she's probably going to ask what the
Oh, yes.
result was, and then
Yep.
Perfect.
that's fine. And we don't have a town accountant, only for one day a week, so it's important that we follow through on this.
Yep. Absolutely.
Review, discuss, and act on the following transfers. I'm not sure, are they in the order that we were giving them? So we have one for...
Yes.
Okay, so I have one for the building department, so I know it's not necessarily in the order. Amount requested to be transferred, $3,000. It has to be transferred, the source of the funds is demolition of deteriorated structures. Total allowable transfer is $5,000.
Yeah, this is an old form that the building.
Yeah,
commissioner
this is,
used.
like,
Yeah,
different
so this
than
is an
everybody
outdated
else's.
form, but the intent is there.
Okay,
So basically, he's asking for $3,000 from his demolition line to actually backfill deficit in the electrical code inspection line. He actually had the money there in the FY21 budget up until the special town meeting, and I think his electrical inspection account was used inadvertently as an offset to fund some items at special town meeting, and he has since run that account into a deficit.
So I will entertain a motion.
and before I make that motion, that line was fully funded for FY '22.
Oh, yes, we went
Okay.
back to yes.
Okay, and I agree with his comment on here. Mr. Chairman, another time I wish former Selectman Goulart were here. I motion that we approve the transfer as requested this evening. Is that sufficient? She used to say the account numbers and everything. And
No, as presented, the account numbers are already outlined in the packet.
Okay.
And documented.
Okay, we agree. I like that.
So as
Saves
presented.
time.
Second.
Excuse me. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, abstention, the ayes have it.
If you want, if you like, I can give you an overview of each one, what they mean and where they
Appreciate
come
that,
from.
thank you.
So the next one, I believe in your packet, is a transfer from the town administrator's salary. Don't worry, I'm not worried. But $11,000 from the town administrator's salary account to the Board of Selectmen, communications commingled billing account. And we've known we've had an issue here, essentially since the end of the last fiscal year, but our budget at that point for FY21 was already set. So we knew we were gonna have this issue, need the transfer. And as we discussed through the FY22 budget process with the Board of Selectmen and the FinCom, we've actually increased this line into a way more realistic, a realistic appropriation. So hopefully, in the future, we should be way better off.
Or at least the request would be a lot smaller.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate your help with that. And I think it's something that the Board of Health has also done for their sanitation, anticipating what those costs would be as well, so that we didn't have to do big transfers at the end. Because I think when it's important, like when we go to a town meeting and we set the budget, and I'll get off my soapbox after this, but what we're doing is we're presenting our priorities to the town. And so I feel like, and we actually don't do as many year-end transfers as other towns. Some do it all the time.
These are limited, yeah.
So we're really good about that. But I just think that it changes what people voted on at the town meeting. Like when they vote for $30,000 for, I'll just make this up, like waste collection. I wish it were that cheap, but that, and then we're using some. And we don't do this. I'm just giving an example. And then that money gets used for, I don't know, purchasing office supplies. Wasn't the original, what people were under the impression was happening with that money or what it was needed for. So I just wanted to thank you, long story short.
Yeah, I just.
Yes, no, oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, the only comment I'll make is that these happen, we do this
All
every
the
year,
time.
unfortunately, but I understand what your concern
Yeah.
is.
Thank
Yeah, and if I can add one other thing, like it wouldn't be appropriate to talk about the commingled billing account without actually thanking Ms. Kerwin.
Yes.
The commingled billing account has been a very difficult challenge in terms of having it all under control. Essentially, it is going to be streamlined, but actually getting to that point has been a labor of love, and I really want to thank Leanne for her work.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I'm concerned the camera didn't go on her, though. That's what I'm concerned is. Hopefully the cable.
No, the
camera-
Channel 9 one will.
Motion on this?
I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to transfer out of the town administrator account $11,000 and to be transferred to the Board of Selectmen account for communications and commingled billing.
Friendly amendment as presented this evening.
Well, I haven't accepted the amendment, the motion, so if you
Oh,
want to make
okay.
you want to make a motion then, just with your correction, I guess?
Yes, I would just motion that we stipulate as presented this evening, just to CYA, cover our butts.
Is there a second on that? So I think he's made the motion now with that.
Amended.
Yes.
Second?
Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, the ayes have it. So I think we included that in our original motion, so I don't think we have to repeat that. Town Administrator, could you continue, please?
Yes, sir. So the next budget transfer request has actually been amended from its original form. The original transfer request was actually in the amount of around $38,000. And working with our town accountant and the Board of Health actually this morning, given that it was Wednesday and our town accountant was here, so we had the ability to actually have a very productive of conversation with him. We went through where we were currently with the expenditures from the Board of Health and their overtime due to COVID. In the contact tracing that the Board of Health has been doing. And our town accountant, he confirmed that basically we're reclassifying all the COVID eligible overtime expenses, and we're going to classify those as funds we're seeking reimbursement from the CARES Act. So they don't have to, even though there's a deficit there, at the beginning of the pandemic, the Board of Selectmen, they adopted and they approved a DOR practice and policy that allowed actually for deficit spending for the purposes of meeting the COVID, for meeting the COVID pandemic challenges with funds that would be applied for with CARES Act or federal funding. So based on that, he was able to reclassify the amount of money, the amount of funding that we're gonna, that we have started and are gonna continue to seek through the CARES Act and FEMA. So that actually brings us to an updated transfer request in the amount of $14,600.81. And what that transfer request encapsulates is the only funds that are not actually CARES Act eligible, are additional non-overtime expenses for the health agent. And our health agent is currently employed at, I believe, 28 hours a week. So we have to fund up to the 35 hours a week before we could basically be eligible for CARES Act overtime. So the $14,600.81, it reflects that amount. And the other, all the other amount we will reclassify, and the town account is reclassifying. And those, and that funding is what we have started and will continue to seek through the CARES Act, if that makes sense.
And this money's coming from your account,
Yes, so,
account to the
Yes.
Board of Health.
I guess
Do you understand that? Does everybody understand?
I don't understand why we can't use the CARES Act money. Maybe I missed something, I apologize.
yeah, so it's the CARES Act guidelines are only for overtime expenses, and because
So that's why
overtime
he's
is
working.
classified at anything
Yeah.
over 35 hours, we had to reach the 35
We had to pay him
hours
7 before. the
Exactly, we had to
CARES.
fund the first 7.
So I shouldn't say he, so what the town accountant and probably the next town accountant will have to do, I would assume, is when you say reclassify, like go back and figure out the monies that were just from the overtime.
Yes.
And that would be what we take from CARES, or what CARES pays for. Okay, I understand.
Yes, and that amount is segregated from our year end.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. But I think, but when we voted, like originally for the overtime and all that, we understood.
It was my
We would
understanding that it was above 28 hours. Was
Yeah.
going to be
Oh,
covered by
okay.
CARES. That was my understanding,
Okay.
not the 35 hours, because that was his hours, was 28 hours.
So I actually did understand that because I had spoke to the town accountant and he had said that was why it was not taking so long, but that was the complicating factor with the reimbursement, was figuring out what was overtime and what was just the extra 7 hours of Dighton overtime
Yeah.
that he would be paid to get him to the 35. Okay, it's complicated, but it makes
Yes.
sense.
I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I motion that we approve the end-of-year budget request from the town administrator salary line to the Board of Health account as presented this evening.
Is there a second?
Second?
Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, abstention, the ayes have it.
So the next one in your packet, I believe, is another request from the Board of Health in the amount of $141.09.
Mm-hmm.
I believe, like in the salary for the health agent, there was a discrepancy in the amount of $141.09 that the Board of Health is proposing be offset with funds from the waste collection and disposal line. We actually don't have an explanation from the Board of Health on this one, or any further explanation.
Does the board have any questions about this?
No, I mean, I would love to know why, but it's not a substantial sum of money where I would hold the vote up for that question, but if we could at least
Yeah,
get,
I will definitely find,
Thank you.
yes,
thank you.
no problem.
I'll entertain a motion.
No questions for you?
No.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I motion that we approve the end-of-year budget transfer request from the Board of Health's waste collection and disposal line into the health agent salary line as presented this evening.
Is there a second?
Second?
Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, the ayes have it.
The next one the next transfer request before you is a request from the Conservation Commission in the amount of $500. They had an unanticipated legal fee in the amount of $500 that they had to fund from their professional and technical based on the timing of the hiring of the conservation agent. There is funding remaining in the conservation agent salary line, so they're proposing to transfer that amount from there.
Does the board have any questions?
Can I ask a stupid question, I guess? If
Ask
we're,
any questions.
if we're, better than anyone, right? If we're at the end of the year, why does that professional and technical line need to be replenished? Are they planning to do something?
I know they're in the red right now, so that professional
Oh,
and
okay,
technical is in the
we're
red.
making it black, okay.
Yes.
Makes sense. See? You're good with
That
words,
was a good
thank
question,
you.
see?
Yes.
Okay,
I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I motion that we approve the end-of-year budget transfer request from the Conservation Commission from the conservation agent salary line into the professional and technical line as presented this evening.
Is there a second?
Second?
Any discussion? If not, let's vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, the ayes have it. The next transfer.
Is the next transfer actually relates to the library, as we have discussed earlier. It's a $15,000 request to be transferred from the group insurance line to the public buildings, properties, rentals, leases, and communications line in the amount of $15,000. There is a balance that we have there now, but with other anticipated bills and charges before the end of the year, this would bring it up to really where we know and to actually ensure that we could fund the library modular in the amount of for the modular and the hookups, it'll be about $40,000, and this would ensure the ability to do that. Just really to make sure we're doing our due diligence as part of this process. We are also bringing this request to the Capital Outlay Committee tomorrow afternoon, just to make sure we're covering our bases.
And this is to ensure temporary emergency space for the library operations.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I will entertain a motion.
Oh. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that transfer end-of-year budget request of group health insurance of $15,000 to the public building properties lease communication line of $15,000 as presented this evening.
Second.
Is there a second? Any discussion? Thank you.
Thank you.
If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstention, the ayes have it.
Thank
Next
you.
transfer, please.
Is a transfer proposed to go into the workers' comp line. We're going to be very close in that line, so we just want to make we want to ensure that we don't close that account in the red. So it's a very small $1,500 proposed transfer from the group insurance account into the workers' compensation line for anticipated additional billing for FY21. We just don't want to go to a special town meeting with an unpaid bill.
Sure.
Does the board have any questions?
No.
If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the end-of-the-year budget transfer request from group health insurance of $15,000 to workers' compensation benefits
Is there a second?
as presented this evening.
Is there a second? I'm sorry. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstention, the ayes have it. We're all learning, to tell you. Is there one more transfer do I have?
Yes, there's one more proposed additional transfer, Mr. Chair. It actually came as a result of our work with the town accountant as well. It's in the communications, it's in the communications of the dispatchers department. They have a deficit in the IMC software support line in the amount of $3,000. They have, as of right now, they have a balance of $19,739 in the overtime account for dispatchers, so they're proposing to transfer that $3,000 into the IMC software support line to make that account whole.
Does the board have any questions?
I guess my one question would be, were the software enhancements anticipated? Like, how did we not anticipate that?
That is,
It says software enhancements were made after setting budget at beginning of fiscal year.
yes. This budget transfer came late in the process, so we wanted to make sure we had it in place for tonight. I have the same question you do, Dr. Z.
Yeah, it's not, I just wanted to be clear, it's not about the timing of the request.
Oh,
it's
yeah,
about,
no,
like,
yeah.
if enhancements were made right after town meeting, then how did we not know going into the town meeting that that would have been needed, I guess is my question. And I know nobody here can answer it, but I just would like to,
No,
to
I
know.
will,
So it doesn't happen again, that's all.
I'll follow up on that for sure.
Thank you.
No problem.
Does the board have any other questions?
No, I'm gonna support it, Mr. Chairman.
If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I motion that we approve the end-of-year budget request from the communications overtime line for full-time operators to the communications IMC software support line as presented this evening.
Second?
Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, the ayes have it. And I believe that's all the transfers.
Thank you.
The next agenda,
you.
thank you. The next agenda item is review, discuss, and act on the town office cleaning contract recommendations. We've all been given a copy of this contract. Can you, Town Administrator, explain to the board what's included in this contract?
Yeah, so this contract is is part of our yearly cleaning contract process, in which we went out in the month of May and procured and sought interest from a variety of local cleaning companies, their interest to provide cleaning services for the town of Dighton, and thankfully we had interest, and the firm that met all the criteria in terms of bidding procurement was actually our current firm, which is M&S Cleaning Services out of Rehoboth. And so you have before you for your consideration and approval this evening a contract in the not to exceed amount of $34,740. And this it includes some modifications from the last contract and our amendments, COVID amendments that we had with M&S. Essentially, actually based on COVID, we're still actually placing a top priority on cleaning and disinfecting. But we have, because we need to be able to afford the services, especially in light of the fact that we won't be able to bill against the CARES Act reimbursements. We did bring some, we did decrease we did decrease the frequency of cleaning services in a number of areas. As of right now, we have one full cleaning of town hall every week, along with 3 additional disinfecting and wipe downs. Under the current proposed contract, we would have one full cleaning and one other wipe down and disinfecting. The same thing is being proposed for Old Town Hall as well. We would have one full cleaning and one additional cleaning and disinfecting actually during the week as well. We will continue the 1 day a week cleaning at the library, and at the highway department as well. That's really important. That's a practice that we started in COVID as well. And that's something just really making sure we have a regular cleaning regimen to keep our employees safe and healthy. I thought, in working with our building commissioner too, we thought that would be helpful. Additionally, for right now, and we do have a COVID cleaning carve out in the contract. So like if things get better, we have the ability to further decrease, and if things get worse, we have the ability to ramp back up as well.
Does that apply to all these? I'm sorry. I'll wait. I'll wait till the end.
Yep. And the only other change after talking with the leadership at the police department as well, is currently we have a 5 day a week cleaning regimen at the PD, and it was agreeable that we could bring that down to 4.
So before you speak, Dr. Z, Selectman Hullard.
Actually, Mr. Mullen, I have 2 questions.
Yes.
How long has M&S had a cleaning contract with the town?
At least I'm aware this is at least their 4th year.
Okay,
Almost every year since I've been here.
really?
Yes.
And then the second question, are they evaluated formally?
They don't have we've never had a formal evaluation regimen in their contract. We do have amendment. We do have amendment portion in the contract to address any issues that arise. But from everything I have seen and been part of, and and heard about their work, overall I have heard very positive satisfaction with their work.
Would it be wise to have an evaluation process in case something happened where we need to terminate their services?
Yes, we do have a termination clause in there that allows for 30 days with no, in the part of, to protect the interests of either parties. So we wouldn't have to have cause or anything else. We could terminate with a 30-day notice.
Oh, without cause?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Dr. Z, I think you had a question.
Yes. My only slight concern is, so I agree we should not be cleaning right now at the same level we were at the height of the pandemic. We probably all agree on that, I would assume. My only concern is one, and this is more a question for the board and for you, Town Administrator Mullen, is reducing the frequency of the cleaning in certain buildings, or the wiping down, if you will. I'm positive that not everyone that comes into our buildings for services is vaccinated. Probably some people don't agree with wearing masks. I just have concerns about us ramping everything down.
Yep.
And we're open for the public, and so I guess that's my concern. I'll stop there. My other question is, or my question rather, is why are we doing 4 times cleaning at the Dighton Police Station? And I know it's a new building and it's a nice building and all that, but I don't recall how we arrived at that, because we have buildings where, for example, the firefighters literally sleep in the fire station, so they do 2 24-hour shifts, and we're not cleaning that with the same frequency, and they literally live in there. So I guess I just don't understand the logic, and maybe I made these decisions, so I'm not obfuscating my own culpability in this, but I'm not sure the rationale is making sense, but that's just my 2 cents.
A few things. Number one, as part of when I came on board and working for the town, I took I evaluated what contracts needed to be put out in terms of, the town continuing to follow and adhering to the 30B law. So I used a framework, frankly, of what we had and what has been here and worked. Actually, it's been for some time now that in the last cleaning contract, the last two that have been put out, we have asked for pricing for both 3 times a week and 5 times a week at the PD. And we have consistently went with actually a 5 times a week cleaning at the PD. In talking with Sergeant Cronin, I asked him, is this overkill? I mean, we're trying to work within a budget framework, but we're also obviously trying to keep our buildings safe, clean, and healthy. And he was very comfortable with the 4. In terms of the cleaning, the differences in cleaning at the fire department, I did have a conversation with Chief McGee about that as well. He had mentioned to me that it's always been a practice at the fire department that the men and women of the fire department, that they clean the fire department as part of their regular shift.
I just am not understanding the logic as to why we're cleaning one building, which granted is a nicer, newer building than most. Why we're focusing on cleaning that building almost every day of the business week and not any other building. Like, why can't we just do it one day a week, like every other building? Why do we have to do it 4?
I can follow up with that. I can see if we have the ability to further decrease that. I just went on what has been happening in recent years as a way to not jeopardize the continuation of cleaning services into the fiscal year. I can certainly follow up.
Is this something we should take care of before the new fiscal year, or before we vote on this tonight?
Yes, I can follow up. Ideally, I think it can make it to the July 14th meeting. I think if we go over a few days, I think it would be understandable to have an updated final agreement in place by then.
Well, I just want to be clear. I don't even know if if my colleagues agree with me. I just don't understand the rationale. I'm not getting a reason. If there was some
I understand
reason, I
completely,
understand.
yes.
I'm reasonable, but it doesn't make sense to me why we're cleaning one building more than all the others, other than it's the nicest, newest building we have.
Yes, and the other thing I've seen in my files as well, which I've wanted to combine as well, because I had concerns about actually bidding out the service. What we had actually done in the past, we have done one. We've done one request for quotes for all town buildings except for the police, and an RFQ for the PD separately. And just in the event that the quotes actually came back in excess of $50,000, I wanted to make sure that we were approaching everything together, so we were meeting the public bidding laws. But to that point, it does look like going back to 2018, we actually started a separate process specifically for the PD.
Probably because it was the new building. Just look at the prices. It's literally almost triple to clean the police station every month than it is for just town hall. And it's more expensive to clean that one building than all the other temporary COVID-related cleaning by almost 50%. So it's just a lot of money, and I don't want us to continue. This is just my opinion. I have reservations about continuing this practice into the new fiscal year.
Okay.
Selectman Hull?
Mr. Mullen, if we review this and we reduce the services, will the cleaning company be okay with a reduction in price?
I wouldn't want to speak for them like actually without talking with them, but we did for the I will say for the purposes of going out to bid, we went up to bid with a minimum of 3 times a week cleaning at the PD. So that is to meet the to meet and to follow the requirements of the ad that we sent out. I mean, I don't think we can decrease it anything less than 3, but I think we can certainly, if the board would like, I can definitely have a conversation actually with the PD and with the cleaning company about actually going down to 3.
And just to add a little bit of information, I'm fairly certain that when we started using M&S, which was probably before I was even elected on this, I actually know the owner, Mr. Werame. He's married to someone I graduated DR with. They were only cleaning that building once a week, I think. That was the original contract, was to clean that building once a week, just like they would clean all the other buildings once a week. So I guess what I'm saying is, and we should have that conversation first, obviously, but it would just go back to how it originally was when I started.
No, and I'd be happy to have that conversation
if the board is amenable.
Yep.
If things fall apart, would you have time to repost it or rebid? Because you're in actuality renegotiating.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I feel confident we can get it done before the next meeting.
Okay.
And I'm not trying, I apologize,
No,
I'm not trying to sink it, I'm not trying, like I said, I know this gentleman and he has done, his company, M&S, has done an outstanding job, especially during the pandemic. Yep. But I just don't think we should pay for something if we don't have to, is my only thought.
Dr. Zografos, don't apologize. You're concerned for the best interest of the taxpayers.
It's just more work, that's all. I know it's more work. I think he's a linear thinker like me. We want to check things off the to-do list here, and I feel like now I've put something back on, so I apologize.
It's savings to the taxpayer.
Absolutely. Not apologizing for that. That's
okay. Thank you.
And if I could, I don't want to belabor the issue, but I think it's an important one and an important conversation to have. I understand, Dr. Zia, your comment about the frequency of cleaning in light of COVID, and I take that extremely seriously. And I've tried to strike a balance, but I understand that people might have different levels of comfortability about that balance. So if the board has any feedback on the balance in terms of the frequency, that I'm proposing, I mean, I'm open ears,
You mean now is the time because we have to go back anyway?
Yeah.
Okay. The only reason I made my initial comment was about the keeping, maybe we should not reduce the cleaning so much. I didn't mean, I'm okay with the reduction in cleaning, as long as we keep doing that 3 times a week wipe down or whatever that was. As long as we keep that up, I'm okay with going to once a week for the actual cleaning in like Old Town Hall, this room.
Yep.
I'm okay with that. That's my personal opinion.
So yeah, so to that point, what we have done up until now is once a week we have a full cleaning in terms of the trash, vacuuming, everything in all of our buildings. What was added during COVID was actually Old Town Hall and Town Hall being an example, there were 3 additional wipe downs and disinfectants actually scheduled. So there wasn't vacuuming, there wasn't trash, there was just actually wipe downs and disinfecting of public touch points and surface areas. So what, and to also bring the cost of the contract down in line with what the FinCom actually recommended as well. Or actually relatively close to what they recommended and what was approved was still actually over technically what was approved, but again, I tried to strike a balance in terms of what was actually practically needed, and then we can worry about transfers later. But we would have a once-a-week cleaning that typically at Town Hall happen on Thursdays, and that full cleaning would also include a disinfecting and wipe down as well. Additionally, and we can confirm with Aaron on scheduling, but we would have probably likely on Tuesday a disinfecting and wipe down as well that didn't include actually a full cleaning.
Okay, I'm fine with that, totally.
Yeah, so what wouldn't happen would there wouldn't be a disinfecting and wipe down on Monday and Wednesday.
Okay.
Okay,
That's my personal opinion. I'm okay with that.
okay, thank you.
Is there any way my last question on this topic, I promise.
I'm not making comments
I'm
anymore
like,
about your last question.
'Cause
You've noticed.
you don't want me to have any more questions.
No, I
if you
didn't say
may.
that. I'm not making any comments.
So my last question is, there has been talk about we may need to have a special meeting on Monday. Is there any way, I'm just keeping in mind that July 1st start date for the fiscal year. Is there any way we could have this conversation with Mr. Warame? And if there aren't too many changes, we could potentially vote on this plus
Well,
a matter on Monday?
yes, but I'd also be interested in why Sergeant Cronin felt that it needed to be cleaned 4
Okay,
times. He's pretty
yeah.
responsible. I
Yeah.
would respect his opinion on
Yeah,
it, quite frankly.
absolutely.
I mean, they have, I don't know how many prisoners they have, how often they have prisoners, but that's something that you have
That's
to
a
take.
good consideration,
You have to
yes.
take that into consideration. You got people coming from who knows where that are, could be in a mental health issue or whatever, and they're not vaccinated or whatever, so there's a lot of public that goes into the main building. They do interviews with people, booking and all that kind of stuff, so I want to hear from Sergeant Cronin too. He doesn't have to come to a meeting or anything, but I'd be interested
That's a
to
good point.
see how he came up with the reduction from 5 to 4 and
Okay.
why he feels it should be 4. I understand, trying to save money for the town. I suspect because of what they're talking about, the Delta variant, that maybe in the fall, these numbers are going to increase again. We're going to be revisiting this contract perhaps and having an increase in cleaning. But I respect your opinion on it.
No, that's a good point.
But I
don't
would want
begrudge it
that
at
to,
all.
Sergeant Cronin to be part of the discussion.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Would it
Selectman
be
Hull.
appropriate at this time to motion to continue this until the special meeting on Monday?
Somebody wants to make that motion, second, we can vote on it, sure.
I just don't want to tie anyone's hands in terms of the timing, but
No, I
just-
think it's definitely
I
the
think we
time.
have to have something in place for, like, what
I-
would happen
yeah, I
on
was-
July
Right, I
1st.
was concerned, the conversation was going into wait till July, and I was,
No, honestly, I think actually conversations with both the vendor, and the PD can definitely happen tomorrow.
Okay.
And even into Friday, so I definitely think I can hopefully have resolution on this by, and have something ready by Monday night.
so Ms. Kerwin, I said that we only have one item for the agenda Monday, because we have the Boston Post-Cane right after that. We're gonna make an exception, we'll make it 2 items, but I would hope that we don't go any further than that, so I'll entertain.
June
It's the
28th.
June 28th?
Yep, 6 p.m.?
No, because the Boston Post-Cane is at
that's right,
6:30,
yes.
so if it could be earlier, I don't think we need to pick a time, just the next special Selectmen's meeting, which is
Mr.
June
Chairman,
20th,
I'd like to make a motion
Mhm.
that discussion of the contract for services involving M&S cleaning be tabled until Monday, May 28th, special Board of Selectmen meeting.
Just make a
Second.
correction, June
Oh,
28th.
June 28th,
Yeah.
yep.
Should I say, I'm sorry, June.
Because now we'll be going 11 months.
Yes.
So
No,
we'll really be
no
beyond the
cleaning.
contract.
No, 'cause we're going from all the time to never again. I will second that, Mr. Chairman.
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, abstention, the ayes have it. I think that's reasonable to.
Oh, I do too. Thank
check
you
that
for
out a
your
little bit,
feedback.
and thanks for bringing it up, Dr. Z, and also Selectman Hull,
Yep.
for your comments regarding
Thank you.
that. So the next agenda item on the correspondence is a letter from a newly assigned Civil Rights Officer, Todd Kuczynski. This is addressed to the Board of Selectmen and carbon copy to the Police Chief, Robert McDonald. I am contacting you as Dighton's Police Department's newly assigned Civil Rights Officer. In accordance with the Governor Charlie Baker's initiative to have appointed a Civil Rights Officer at each law enforcement agency in the Commonwealth, our department sent me through a course of training on the awareness and protection of the civil rights and constitutional rights of all citizens of Dighton. I, in conjunction with all personnel at our agency, am committed to the cause of being the guardian of your civil and constitutional rights. I am open to hear your priorities and concern at this subject matter. Kindly feel free to reach out to me if you would like to discuss this further. Respectfully submitted, Patrolman Todd Krasinski. It's good to know that we're going to have a civil rights officer, I think, in town, given what's happened in different communities. So he's already been appointed, so we don't need to vote on this, right? But this is just correspondence. Any questions about that?
Well, actually, I anticipate that there are going to be more changes coming down from the police department as the police reform bill is enacted. So,
Yeah.
I think this one, I think we can all agree is
yes.
a good change.
Yep.
Not just for the town, like, I'm not talking about the town's liability, I'm more just talking about residents going about their lives, to know that they have someone specifically designated in Dighton Police Department to be aware of and protect our civil and constitutional rights, I think is a great thing. And I think it will strengthen the bond between our community and our police officers. So I welcome this change, this particular change, and kudos.
Yep.
And,
No, I agree.
and thanks for letting us know. Is there, I was just going to ask if maybe we could invite him if he wanted to come and talk to us about what exactly he's going to be doing, but I'll leave that up to the chair.
I do know that I want to suggest to the Human Rights Commission that he be invited to
Oh,
the
nice.
Human Rights
Okay.
Commission. But it's a possibility. I mean, it's a new position. I'd like to know more about it. And instead of all three of us individually contacting him, it might be a good idea
Yeah,
to,
no, we can absolutely do that.
not necessarily Monday nights.
No,
but
no Monday night.
No.
Not necessarily the first meeting in July, but somewhere down the road.
Yep,
I think it would be helpful.
absolutely.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you. The next correspondence is from Timothy Rhines, and he wrote, "Good morning to you all. This is dated June 14, 2021. This is to inform you that the town of Dighton sent a formal presentation to the family of Frederick C. Anderson, guaranteeing that the Medal of Honor will be under 24-hour surveillance at the Dighton Police Station and not to be placed inside Old Town Hall. If you make any type of decision to move said medal to the latter location, I, Timothy Rhines, will notify the family that the town of Dighton not only reneged on the written deal, as well as besmirching the name of the late Charles McGeisel." And he followed it up on, it looks like the same date. "Good morning, Karen and Leanne. I just want to be sure that you both received this email, as they say, for the record. Have a wonderful day. Thank you, Timothy Rhines, citizen." I believe there's been a conversation with the chief of police, and we're all in agreement that the Medal of Honor will be placed at the police station as originally discussed. So no longer are we considering putting in that cabinet back there, which is probably not a very safe place for it to be.
I would say it's just safer at the police station. Not that
Well,
it's not. We have surveillance, we have the cameras, we have the, but I agree, it's safer at the police station.
It's glass, it can be broken into pretty easily, and
You're right.
so I appreciate the chief willing to have it placed in that cabin when you walk into the foyer of the police station, that right now is going to be cleaned 5 days a week, may be reduced to 4 or 3, but in that area, and the public will be able to take a look, and I think it's a great place for it to be. Any comments about this?
My only comment is, can we please make sure that we get back to Mr. Rhines just to apprise him of the recent developments?
Yeah, yes, and to that point, I did reach out to him. I reached out to him this afternoon, and I let him know that I did have a conversation with the chief of police. I'll again with the building commissioner as well. Just an update in terms of the timing. In terms of the shelving, at the PD currently, the building commissioner does need to add a glass enclosure to the current shelving that is there, to basically to put the Medal of Honor behind the glass. So he will be doing that in the next month or so, but I will have an update, and it's the building commissioner's expectation that that will be done this summer. So
That's
we
good,
can finally go
and
there.
it's presently in a very safe place.
Yes.
The next correspondence is from Ellen Bidlack. It's addressed to Mark Pacheco, the town clerk, as well as the Board of Selectmen. Dear Select Board, I am writing to ask not to be reappointed to the Open Space Committee. I have recently moved out of town, and I feel that it would be difficult to continue to represent Dighton. It's been an honor to serve the town of Dighton. I wish you all the best. And she's on the Open Space Committee. She's been very active in that committee.
She is.
So it's going to be sad to lose her, but she's moved out of town, and good for her, I guess.
I hope, Mrs. Bidlack, if you're watching, I hope Plymouth appreciates you as much as Dighton did. But in all seriousness, Mr. Chairman, before I make the motion to accept the letter of resignation with thanks and appreciation, I just want the town of Dighton, our residents, to understand what a force Mrs. Bidlack had been for preserving and protecting our open space and recreational areas. When I first started serving with Mrs. Bidlack, the open space and recreation plan at that time, several years ago, had fizzled. We didn't have enough committee members, which is ironic because now we're back in the same situation, but we got the open space and recreation plan done. We made it through the years of hurdles, partly because of Mrs. Bidlack's focus and leadership. She will leave a legacy in the open space and recreation plan. She has set the Open Space Committee on the right course. We are working with Bill, I'm the liaison, non-voting. We are working with Serpid's Bill Napolitano on things like an open space residential design bylaw, so that new developments in town must incorporate open space if it were approved by residents, of course. But it's things like that that I think residents appreciate. We all, everybody has agreements and disagreements in town, but I think the one thing that if you asked any Daytonian about, we would all agree that preserving open space is really critical and important to the character of who the town is. And I think residents, again, should be aware that Mrs. Bidlack was a driving force behind preserving the character of the town and preserving our open space and recreational spaces. So thank you, Mrs. Bidlack, very much. It's been an honor to work with you and to learn from you.
Mr. Pacheco, after listening to Dr. Zografos' fine words about Mrs. Bidlack, would it be appropriate that we ask Mr. Mullen to send a letter on behalf of the Board of Selectmen thanking her for her service to the town?
Absolutely.
Yes, I don't think we need a motion, but
Make that in the form of a motion?
do you think it's necessary? Well, you can make the motion, sure.
I'd like to make a motion that a letter of appreciation be sent to Mrs. Bidlack for her service to the town of Dighton, and specifically with the Open Space Committee.
I will second
Is
that.
there a second?
Thank you.
Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose, abstention, the ayes have it.
Mr. Chairman, I motion that we accept the letter of resignation from Mrs. Ellen Bidlack with sincere thanks and appreciation.
Is there a second?
Second?
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose, abstention, the ayes have it. The next agenda item is the letter from Ed Swartz regarding his resignation from Finance Committee. However, I don't see that letter.
I don't either.
Yeah, so, Mr. Chairman, we don't actually have a letter because
He,
he's not actually appointed by
Yeah.
the Board of Selectmen, so the fact that he wasn't reappointed by the moderator, based on his own,
Request.
yes, is all we need. So I think that was placed as a placeholder, but
Because these letters typically go to the town clerk.
Yeah.
And the reason is because it's when someone resigns during their term. And I think what you're saying is he didn't really resign during his term. He just wasn't reappointed, so no letter.
Yep.
I get it. Well, we thank him.
we thank him.
It was nice
He
to
was
see
here
him.
earlier. For those that may just be joining us now, and we give him a proclamation in support of all the 20 years that he's given to the town. So we can't actually vote not to let him resign then, okay?
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, just interesting. Thank you, Mr. Swartz. He was a
Thank
big
you,
asset
sir.
to the town.
Absolutely.
Acknowledgements. There's a letter from the fire chief. Dear Board, this is dated June 17th. I am writing this letter to inform you that effective on July 1st, 2021, I will be appointing one new member to the call EMT ranks. The new member is Joshua Desmond. Josh comes to us as a product of our junior firefighters program, and I look forward to seeing him become a well-rounded EMT/B with this department. If you should have any questions or concerns, please don't hesitate to contact me.
Mr. Chairman?
Yep.
If you're entertaining motions, I motion that we acknowledge the appointment of Joshua Desmond to the call EMT ranks as outlined in Chief McGee's letter this evening.
Second?
Is there a second? Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, the ayes have it.
Mr. Chairman, before we move on, I just wanted to highlight and thank Chief McGee. When he was first appointed, he made it a priority, or he said it was his priority, to really beef up the call EMT ranks. And I just wanted to sincerely thank him for being a leader of his word and doing exactly that. So thank you, Chief.
Thank you, I agree. Thank you. Minutes. I'll entertain a motion to approve the Board of Selectmen's regular meeting minutes of May 26, 2021.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second?
Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, abstention, the ayes have it. I'll entertain a motion to accept for review the Board of Selectmen's regular meeting minutes of March 30th, 2021, and June 9th, 2021.
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, the ayes have it. Approval of the warrants. I'll entertain a motion to approve the following warrants. 51A-21 in the amount of $109,246.81. 51B-21, $117,836.88. And 51C-21, $8,975.91. And these are the warrants from June 16th, 2021.
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention? The ayes have it. And that's for a motion to approve the following warrants dated June 23rd, 2021. 52A-21, $109,720.79. 52B-21, $44,858.67. 52C-21, $69,303.95. And 52D-21, $185,644.57.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion or any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstention, the ayes have it. Public input, is there anybody? Public input? There's a couple there, I can't see who they are, but.
It's Mr. White, Doug White.
Any public input?
Mr. White?
I don't think there's any public input.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session. We will not be reconvening. Under Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, 3, to discuss the strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body and declare, the chair so declares, and I so declare. A, negotiations with the Dighton Police Department, Mass. COP 306.
So moved.
Second?
Second. Roll call. All those in favor say aye. Roll call. Selectman Hull?
Aye.
Dr. Z?
Aye.
And Ken Pacheco is an aye. And we will not be convening again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cable, thank you.